number one on the Orient charts. Every number one for 83 in the press. Ow! Every number one on the Orient charts. Every number one for 83 in the press. Every number one on the Orient charts. Every number one for 83 in the press. Ow! Every number one on the Orient charts. Every number one for 83 in the press. And every three in the press. Wow! Yowza!
Hello, I'm Ben,
Hi, I'm Tom.
and welcome to Sunglasses at Night, episode 14, which is 1995.
Oh, it's a great year. Seems like only yesterday.
It does seem like yesterday. Some would say it was 26 years ago, but in many ways,
Those
it
people
does
would
feel
be
like
cruel,
yesterday. They
cruel
would be very
people.
cruel. Absolutely. So, look, straight off the bat, Tom, I've got to apologise. We have been on hiatus for a little bit of time.
We have.
If you're new to the podcast and have just listened to episode 13 and have gone straight into 14, you might not have noticed the break. But the reality is that we're in Melbourne, in Australia, and we've just come out of 264 days of lockdown.
Yay!
So, unfortunately, during that period of time, Tom and I were unable to convene
Yes.
in houses to record the podcast. So we had to take a bit of a break. We tried doing it. Well, we didn't try, but let's pretend.
We thought about
we tried doing it over the internet, but the NBN hasn't been connected
Yes,
yet
I
here.
blame Malcolm Turnbull for it.
Exactly.
But
So
no one needs to hear about lockdown anymore.
no, we don't. Let's move on.
me.
Let's get rid of that. So, look, 1995, great year. So before we get into the ARIA charts, movie of the year. I had a quick look, Tom. Number
Sure.
one grossing film of this year was Batman Forever. Where
Ah.
were you the first time you saw Batman? Have you seen Batman Forever?
I have not seen Batman Forever. No.
No.
I saw the sequel, which seemed like surely could not have been any better.
No.
I know people talk about it as like this horrible crime perpetuated against the Batman series, but I would say to those people, look, I have a personal appreciation for Batman Returns,
Yep.
the Tim Burton's utterly, completely insane sequel to the first one. And I would say to those, I do actually quite like that film. I watched it again the other day. It's great fun. It's insane, but it's
Yep.
great fun. But I would say, I don't think Batman Forever is any weirder than that film.
No.
And I can see why they did it, because you can't get any darker than that film really without just turning into a straight up horror movie, which it almost is.
Yeah, look,
Frankly.
absolutely.
So I think they've clearly just gone, hey, let's just try and get back to the old cartoon show one. Let's make it colourful and crazy. And
Yeah. So Batman Forever had Jim Carrey in it.
it did, as the Riddler.
Yep, absolutely. And then the next one after that was the one that had like Arnie, wasn't it? That was the one that was real dog shit.
Yeah.
With was George Clooney in that one?
They're both. Oh, hang on, are they? Yeah, they're. No, that was Val Kilmer, wasn't
Val
it?
Kilmer.
Batman
Sorry.
Forever is Val Kilmer. The second one is George Clooney.
Yep.
Whatever.
There's too many of them.
Batman
I can't
and
keep
Robin. That was cool. That was George Clooney.
up.
They were both Joel Schumacher. They both featured bat nipples on the bat suits.
Yep.
And a very, very campy city of Gotham,
Yep.
which was much more sort of Greek and silver and phallic than the kind of Art Deco hellscape nightmare of
Yep.
the two Tim Burton ones.
But look, we've come a long way, Tom, and we don't care or make Batman films
No.
anymore. We don't do that anymore. We've moved on from that. Oh, except I think there's one coming out probably later this year or
Sure.
next year. So they churn this shit out every 3 weeks. Look, I
hope-
don't know. What's
I
he
just-
going to do? Who's tired of the Batman? Not me.
No.
They should be making them annually, I think. Probably two a year. I'd like to see 2 Batman films a year. What's he
and
up
a
to
TV
next?
show, yeah.
What's he up to next?
I just hope and pray, for the love of God, that I finally get to find out what happened to Bruce Wayne's parents, because his enigmatic background.
It's a cliffhanger, Tom, that keeps us sort of hanging on
Yes,
time and time again.
Maybe one day they'll tell us
I can't wait.
how he became the Batman. But yeah,
Well, maybe in the Batman, this new film that's coming out, or if not, one of the other sequels, or they'll reboot again in 5 years probably. So they reboot all this shit until the end of time.
100%.
So it's good. So anyway, that was a film year. Any news? Any good
yeah.
news coming
Well,
out?
Looking at the world, looking at the world.
It doesn't have to be good
95,
news. Yep.
Well, there was, for instance, the Oklahoma City bombing.
Oh, Timothy
happened.
McVeigh. I think
Timothy
we've mentioned him
McVeigh.
before in the podcast.
Yes.
He's a podcast favourite.
It was also the year that the Aum Shinrikyo religious cult gassed sarin gas attack in the Tokyo subways.
Sarin gas attacks, that one, yep. That's no good.
Yeah. What good news. Prime Minister and twat Jacques Chirac announced the resumption of nuclear testing in Polynesia.
Oh.
That's not good news. 10 years after France blew up a Greenpeace boat out of petulant French spite. Yeah, but fuck, a lot of people died pointlessly in 95, Ben. Let's not get too nostalgic for the 90s. Americans were blowing each other up. The Japanese were gassing each other. Half of Eastern Europe was stabbing their neighbours in their sleep. American Airlines Flight 965 flew into a mountain, killing 160 people. There was a fire in the Azerbaijan subway that cooked 300 people alive, still the worst subway disaster of all time.
Jeez.
A fucking department store collapsed in South Korea and crushed 500 people. Typhoon Angela killed 900 people in the Philippines. There was an earthquake on Sakhalin Island in Russia that killed 2,000 people that I never even heard about, following on from the one in Hyogo Prefecture of Japan that killed 6,000 people. And Windows 95 came out. You know, I
Some
mean,
news at the end there.
it wasn't a great year.
Yeah.
I remember the mid-90s fondly, but clearly I wasn't watching SBS World News as much back then because, honestly, half of those I'd never even heard of, you know.
No, absolutely. I remember Oklahoma City bombing,
Yes.
sarin gas, but apart from that, absolutely. But Windows 95, Tom, when I was living in Tokyo, they released a Windows 7 came out. I can't remember when that was, 2010 or something like that. And to celebrate the release of Windows 7, Hungry Jack's released a Windows 7 burger, which was 7 patties and 7 pieces of cheese in there, and that was the Windows 7 burger in probably one of the finest tie-ins between two companies I've ever seen. So I'd hate to see that Windows 95 burger, Tom. Hey, you get it'd be
Yes.
90. Yeah,
Yeah, I hope Facebook's not listening to
Yep.
me and collecting data right now.
yeah. That's why we don't do jokes on this show, because that Windows 95 burgers as well. It would be really big, so I had to explain that to you.
Sorry.
So
I thought you were trying to get
no. Let's see,
the
the Windows
algorithm
no.
to bring back the Windows 7.
The Windows
burger.
7 burger had 7, so then I said I'd hate to see the Windows 95.
I see.
It'd be 95.
Oh,
Patties
sorry,
in there.
I
Fucking
ruined
hell.
your genius
Yeah,
joke.
that's all right. So for
Did you
we don't
did
do
you
jokes.
try the Windows 7?
I did, Tom. Terrible, because it's like a cheeseburger but with like 7 burgers in there. So I think the bun was like blue, or you know how Japan does that bullshit. It's like, oh, it's the bun's blue, and it's like cool. So you just put some like blue food dye in a regular bun. So
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they invented the novelty tie in Japan. If not,
Oh,
they've
absolutely.
certainly taken it to a new level. They really.
yeah, for sure. So look, I hope they still do that in Japan. Every time Windows bring out a new it's up to Windows 10 now, Office 365, whatever the fuck they're doing. I hope they just bring out a burger. It's another patty in there, and it's sort of like that's perfect. So good stuff. Did you have any culture notes, Tom, for this year, or do we just do? You've got some, all the news.
Well, apart from Batman,
Batman
the
Forever.
cultural apex. Around the world, a massively popular and beloved Mexican-American singer, model, actress, and fashion designer called Selena was tragically murdered at age 23 by the president of her own fan club,
Oh, jeez.
which demonstrates once and for all that fan clubs are fucking creepy, and really they're just a pipeline to help stalkers find out the alarm code for your garage door.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they need to stop and,
Do they still do fan clubs these days?
Well, I think fan clubs really were the precursors to social media, e.g. a bunch of horribly creepy people hanging around and helping each other's delusional behaviour get worse and worse and worse over time.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
fortunately they went away and nothing like that happens anymore.
And much like social media, like there's sort of the fan club president, they get all the letters, they probably read them all, they do all the responses. So it's probably like social media. Like, there's absolutely no way that Beyonce has ever gone anywhere fucking near her
no.
own Instagram account.
No.
She'd have 10 employees that do all that shit. It's
The
like,
record
look at
company
me just hanging
send
out.
each fan club a show bag once a year and distribute stickers among them and stuff like that.
Oh, for sure, exactly. So
The best thing about them was back then you had to send your rape and death threats by hand,
You did,
so it
yeah.
would take 3 weeks each rape threat back and forth.
Yeah, for sure.
By hand.
Absolutely. And also back in those days, You're right. You probably get a sticker or something. You have to send $1 in or something. You'd like sort of
Yeah,
send
or a
in a
badge,
yeah, absolutely.
iron-on transfer.
Yeah, look, I'm going to start doing something, Tom, which what I've noticed is occasionally when I'm in the op shop with my kids, and I'll find I'll go. There's the CD section, and you'll rummage through there looking for I'm usually looking for the CD singles of the songs that we talk about, just so that I have a physical copy of. Say the Cranberries Zombie or something as we spoke about last week. But occasionally you'll open them up and there'll still be that fill this in and send it in to sort of get onto the mailing list or get something back or enter a competition. So I'm going to start
copy. Yeah,
I'm going to start filling them in, even though it's sort of 25 years later, just see if I can still get onto that, Cranberries mailing list and see if I get a response. So I think it'd be quite interesting. Enter competitions to win, a Pepsi Max sort of prize pack or something, or tickets to the Big Day Out 2000.
Really, at this stage, who's your competition?
No one.
A bunch of people in retirement homes who are slowly dying off.
Yep.
I'd
probably get a response saying this competition closed in January 2002, so I don't know what you're doing. But look, I can give it a go, I think. So, yeah.
One last 1995 thing on a personal note. The movie Hackers came out, which very presciently showed us exactly what the cyberpunk future was going to look like.
It did.
Now, some would say that they were maybe 7 years late already, but when you look at how much they got right, I think it balances out. I forgot to ask as well, do you like my new black mesh sleeveless vest?
I do, I love it.
I think it really sets off these forward goggles and the 7 kilogram wearable DOS computer I've duct taped to my thighs.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I think, Tom...
if you hear the loud clattering sound, that's me typing on my thighs as we speak.
Yep.
I'm hacking into the mainframe.
Hacking into the mainframe.
Via the AOL connection at the payphone downstairs.
They did all their hacking via payphone, which
that was definitely going to be the future
of
hacking, was payphone access.
If you're on a dial-up payphone internet connection, what exactly are you hacking into? It would take 15 minutes to sort of do anything, wouldn't it? You'd press next on the screen and be like, you'd take forever. But one thing, Tom...
And also the Z key would be broken.
Oh.
And then there'd be jizz all over it as well.
A payphone would be complete. It'd be a disgrace. I mean, you can't hack on those things. But the final scene of Hackers, there are hacking on a series of payphones in the bottom of a train station, I think. And Angelina Jolie, it's a race against the clock. Will the cops get there first? Won't they?
It's very tense.
But interestingly, though, I think... and I don't know whether... Has anyone spoken about Hackers in this way, that it was ahead of its time? I don't know whether everyone agrees with this, but there's a character in Hackers. It's the killer from Scream. If you've seen Scream, the Scream film,
yes,
the killer, the killer from the original Scream. He's in Hackers, and I would suggest his character is maybe trans. Would you agree with that, Tom?
Yeah,
or possibly a portrayal of a very early portrayal of a trans character, or at least...
I would say he was trans-coded, except we didn't even say coded or trans back then. But yeah, he definitely seems to be...
Sexual fluidity, I would suggest, perhaps, or gender fluid. So, and I don't think that's ever been... we're breaking this here on the podcast, Tom, but I think that... that was something interesting that I've not seen spoken about in the Hackers sort of world. But I believe that they had a character there that was certainly portrayed as being gender fluid, and we're the first people to realise that. So
I think so.
Was Hackers ahead of its time on that? Because it was clearly not ahead of its time in terms of the hacking technology that it portrayed.
No, I think you're right. I think it was ridiculously misconceived in terms of the thing it was actually about, but some of the background details, like the fashion, was realistically terrible when you would look at what constituted rave culture and edgy stuff, like things like fucking rash vests, Quicksilver rash vests worn as motorbike jackets on people who don't ride motorbikes. Like people rollerblading around everywhere. These things, regrettably or otherwise, did actually take place.
Angelina Jolie in that film was wearing a rash vest for 75% of the film.
She wears two different
rash vests. It's set in New York City. They're nowhere near the fucking beach. Well, I guess you could go to Long Island or some shit. I don't really know. But completely ridiculous. And I think, was anyone doing the rash vest and leather jacket? Did she double team that? Because that's sort of Indecent Obsession sort of style in terms of a wetsuit.
Getting close to that, yeah.
It's pretty good, yeah. Did Johnny Mnemonic come out in 1995 as well?
No, that's even earlier, I think.
That's a shame, yeah. Because that's another film that I think, to fill people in, during our podcast off time, Tom and I have been watching all of the most dog shit cyberpunk and technology-focused films that were available.
In grand Hollywood tradition,
Yep.
you've got The Thing is actually cool for about 2 years.
Yes.
Then there's sort of 2 more years when it sort of tails off being cool. Then 5 years after that,
Yep.
Hollywood figures out that it was a thing.
Yep.
So, like, William Gibson's Neuromancer was like, I think that was like 86, the book came out. So then it sort of stopped being cool again by about 1990. Billy Joel's Shock to the System came out sort of 91, 92. People were already going, ha
You're doing a cyberpunk album. Like,
now in 92, really? Like, we've got fucking Vanilla Ice now. We don't need cyberpunk anymore.
Exactly.
And then, like, 3 years after that, Hollywood goes, oh shit, better put out Lawnmower Man. So, you know,
Yep.
Hackers, for instance.
Let's
yes.
put out some virtual reality. But the thing with those virtual reality films is that they're either 2 years too late or 30 years too early, because no one has still
Yes.
been able to get virtual reality
Yes.
up and running as a legit thing that people are into. It's always come. It's coming next year, Tom. You know, Mark Zuckerberg's got those fucking occultist goggles or whatever the fuck they are. So it's on the way. It's on the way. But so Johnny Mnemonic, the reason I brought that up is because that's set in 2021, Tom.
Oh, okay. At
So
least
it's
they
set
had
now.
the balls to
It's
actually
set now.
set a date. Okay.
It is. So it's set now, and much like today, if you want to transport 80 gigabytes of data from one place to the other, you need to upload it into someone's brain and then have them physically walk to the destination, and then you download it onto the person's computer. You don't just send it across the internet. No. That would be too simple. You do a bit of brain uploading. So they got that right. And also, Keanu getting onto the internet involves some sort of cyber glove, where he puts these gloves on and starts manipulating the data as if it's sort of like kind of like Minority Report, but just a real whack version of that. So
All the things they owe this to. This is a William Gibson thing.
Yeah.
So that's how he imagined that would be how the internet would look in '86.
Yeah.
Would that it would be representational as opposed to
just on
literal.
The,
So
just
it would-
touching the type.
yeah. I was kind of imagining like a 3-dimensional map that you would inhabit, where the map doesn't, like a subway station map, where it doesn't literally represent the distances and stuff. It's
Exactly.
just, you know, so and things, you know, like an iconic kind of thing. But then, like, it took people a long time to shake that idea, even after, as in the case of hackers, the actual internet had actually come out and didn't look anything like that. People were still convinced that at some point we were all going to put on goggles and the internet was going to look like a bunch of glowing neon highways that you could poke with your fingers wearing special gloves. Hey, maybe it will. Maybe
Yeah,
it
it might
will,
do.
and maybe it'll be fucking awesome.
Do you
know?
think-
I'd have a go at it? Sure.
I guess is it just also Hollywood trying to look for a good visual representation? Because if it was reality in 1995, it would just someone be going www.geocities.com / and typing in some extremely long URL to go to a page that had like nothing on it, some text. So they were,
And also just like trying to make hacking look interesting to film.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
like 10 years later in like Swordfish, they're still trying to figure out a way to make hacking look interesting. You know, they don't bother. He doesn't put in goggles or whatever. They're still doing this fake. There's just rotating cubes and dumb shit flying around. And you know,
did you ever watch Nathan For You, the TV show?
I'm familiar with it, but no, not much.
Anyway, I won't talk about it. But he makes a fake film like about a hacker, and he gets like I think he gets like a Johnny Depp lookalike to sort of. It's ridiculously shit, but intentionally. So anyway, I think but the problem is it's like a piss take, but it's probably about the same quality as Hackers in terms of like how it is. But anyway, should we talk about the music?
Yes, yeah, sure.
Boom. All right, cool, Tom. So 1995, the first 5-6 weeks of this hangover from last week.
Yes.
The Cranberries, Zombie. We talked about that last week. Well, it was actually about 8 years ago for us in real life, but in podcast world in the last episode. So yeah, we just learned about that, about how it's really a song about sort of the troubles, about conflict, about people dying, about IRA attacks, about these sorts of things, and about sort of the Cranberries trying to get that into a song. People mostly remember the Cranberries version for the music, not about the actual sort of, I guess, message. But Adam featuring Amy, that cover where they set it in a car wash, Tom, you may remember that.
I don't, but I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. The cover...
They related to Captain Jack.
they're very similar to... Yeah, they were a Eurobeat sort of band from Italy. They did the cover of that, added 180 BPM, set it in a car wash, and that really made me think about, domestic terrorism, Tom. So that was a great, great song, and I love that.
Just quietly, I'm willing to bet it's more fun than the Cranberries one. Sorry.
Oh, it's a lot more fun, definitely, for sure. I think Amy, as I mentioned, she appears to be masturbating in the car in the opening sequence. So it's and then a dude jumps out of the boot. So I don't know. It's completely bizarre. It's unhinged, but it's about domestic terrorism, and it really made me think about what we should be doing to fight against that domestic terrorism. So anyway, so that was for that. So
let's move on.
first new song of the year, Real McCoy, Another Night. Holy shit. Fuck, I fuck with the Real McCoy hard, Tom.
You are a very big Eurodance fan.
I
You
am.
definitely take the lead then. Let me know.
Oh, look,
What's the Real McCoy story?
The thing is, Tom, that I think it's an interesting time for music 1995 because I think we're officially, quote, post-grunge, end quote, I think.
Well, we'd certainly post the first wave, the first bands, the first Seattle
Godsmack's still to come. So
Bush have yet to ruin everything,
but,
I think.
But yeah, so I think we're in that sort of... So I think the alt-rock vibe... So let's back step a second. Hair metal's definitely dead by this stage.
Hair metal's gone.
So the rock, we're sort of talking the OG sort of grunge territory's gone. We're getting into a little bit of post grunge or something like that.
Alternative rock.
But we're in a period now where I think we're going to see a little bit less guitar based ish music.
Definitely.
We're definitely on the downward trajectory of the sort of the guitar based music, and we're getting a lot of Euro beats out of this stage. Now Euro
on
beats
the main charts, certainly.
absolutely. Now, sort of, I'm talking sort of very late 80s, early 90s, I think, when we got the Eurobeat sort of beginning. And by this stage, it was just ubiquitous. It's wall-to-wall Eurobeats.
Oh, on the radio, for sure.
For sure, yeah. Now, the Real McCoy, Tom, these guys, look, Another Night, Another Dream, I always knew, another vision of love. That seems to be true now.
I remember it well.
Yeah, these guys, so this was the number one song for 6 weeks, fantastic. They followed this song up with another great song, Automatic Lover. Now, fuck knows what that means. What sort of automatic, like the dude just goes, I'm an automatic lover.
I was trying to remember the song.
I don't know what automatic lover means, but holy shit, am I on board with that now? And then after that, they followed that up with probably one of the seminal 90s Eurodance tracks, Runaway. Run away, run away, run away if you want to survive.
Don't know that
Oh, anyway, it's great. But here's the thing, Tom. They all sound exactly the fucking same. So you heard one, you've heard them all. Now, the video for this song is in black and white, so you know it's very good. It's exceptionally arty. There's dudes working in a factory, which I assume represents the struggles of the proletariat, a struggle that can be overcome at 180 beats per minute.
Sure,
so,
yep.
So these guys, I think, they're one of those groups, and this is sort of, look, it's the Eurobeat genre. It's not quite Milli Vanilli, but it is in the sense that there's always like two dudes that are like the producers that do the music, and then they'll probably get in the music video, they'll probably get like a model to do the fake, like in the music video.
We covered that a few times, yeah. Well, the person singing is often clearly not the person singing. The person singing the video is often clearly not the person singing, and there'll be a random number of dancers who may or may not be in the band.
Exactly.
They might be loosely connected to the band.
For sure. So you've just got two dudes that write the music. They get a supermodel in to just fucking lip sync to this.
Yep.
That'll sell records, and it does. And then people go and see them live and like, wait a minute, that's not the person that I saw in that music video. And it's like, no, because they were never in the Real McCoy to begin with.
Yet that's the only person that people remember to associate it with, because the person who actually wrote the song was the one up the back on the keyboard with the embarrassing chin beard.
Oh, well, this guy had a really bad goatee, one of the guys in the Real McCoy, because they originally went, I don't know if you recall this, Tom, they went by the name MC Sar in the Real McCoy.
Oh, okay,
So,
SAR.
Yeah, SAR, yep. So they may be seen as the Real McCoy. They might also be seen as MC Sar and the Real McCoy. But I think it turns out that, the MC Sar guy that they got into the group, he was just lip syncing, So they got him out. They kicked him out.
Surprise twist. So
Surprise
instead of
twist.
the lead singer lip syncing, it was the
They got the ring-in. So the ring-in that they just got out of nowhere.
the guy doing shitty rap that could be called rap if you're feeling more charitable than the Bill Gates Foundation.
Exactly.
He was actually lip syncing.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was lip syncing. So they got rid of that guy. So that is a twist because usually it's the model-esque
usually
chick
it's
at the front.
one
So-
up the front.
So MC Sar, they got rid of him, and also I'm not quite sure, but MC Sar sounds a little bit too close to MC SARS.
It does.
Which probably doesn't go down too well these days. And any young people out there that don't know what SARS is, it was kind of like the poor man's COVID-19. So only 774 people died. So
Are you telling me that I should possibly rethink my open mic appearances MC COVID-19 that I had?
I think it's a bad idea. I think if you're
Too
in a,
soon?
Yeah, I think if you're in a new metal band, it's probably a good time to come out and call your group COVID-19 or something
That's
like
a pity because my middle band's already called Delta Variant.
Delta variant.
I thought that was a good name.
It sounds
at the time.
hard, absolutely, for sure. I think that's really, really good. I think, yeah, Delta variant. Viral Load is the name of an actual metal band, I think. So
That was
comes
just a
off well.
coincidence, though. They
Yeah.
were already called that.
Exactly. So in the music video to this, which is in black and white, very
Yeah.
arty, a dude, the guy with the goatee, one of
MC
the actual
Bird
members,
Flu.
yep, he just snaps a record. He just like breaks it. He just comes and snaps it over his
Dramatic.
knee. Really dramatic. And I wasn't quite sure, but it's probably their previous single, No Showbo, which nobody gave a flying fuck about anywhere. I checked it out on YouTube and had a look at the Wikipedia. Didn't chart anywhere, which is pretty weird. It gained no traction, and usually like Romania or somewhere, or at least like it'll get to like 12 in like Romania, but it didn't happen at all. So this is like, yeah, I guess you could say this is sort of par for the course. Quite typical Euro beats.
Yeah.
So once they ditched MC SARS, they just let the dude that does the actual rap, be in the music videos. He's got the goatee, as I mentioned. And yeah, it's just the combo of weird dude doing the rap bit and
Yep.
then hot chick who isn't in the group, who's a model,
Yeah.
doing like the vocals. And that's about it. So the producers of this song also produced another Eurobeats classic, Get Away by Max with 2 X's.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with Max, but they're like an off-brand LaBouche with a Snow impersonator doing vocals.
Wow.
And I think what a lot of people don't realise is that Snow had a massive influence on third-tier Eurobeats,
Wow.
as shown by Max and another group by the name of Ice MC, who have a track
I
called
remember Ice MC. Weird.
They're like a third-tier Eurobeats, and
What was their hit?
well, they've got a track called "Think About the Way." Think about, and that's another one. The chick comes in and does that. But Ice MC at the start, he just gets on there and he starts rapping, going boom diggy diggy boom boom diggy bang, and then just lists a bunch of different nationalities. So he was like Colombia, Nigerian, Sri Lankan, Japanese, and that's just the song. Fucking garbage, but does it in like a fake Snow sort of
Okay.
like. But he is black, but he's not. He's from like Paris or something. So it's sort of
Yeah, I
like,
see
are
what
you
you
really a Rasta? Because it's sort of like you got dreadlocks, but you're just from like the suburbs of Paris. I don't think it really counts. So, but then again, maybe Snow pretending to be a Rasta was a little bit less legitimate than Ice MC. Sorry, Ice MC, if you are Jamaican, I apologise. I've just shat on you. But
I think Ice MC had another thing on the radio, but I can't remember what it was.
yeah, look,
Or he was on another track by someone else. He guested on another
I'm sure he did.
Eurodance. He'll probably pop up again.
Oh, look, I hope so. So anyway, that's my my breakdown of this Eurobeat classic. So yeah, Tom, you got anything for me?
Oh, lyrical spotlight. As you'd predict with Eurodance, it's more sort of English as a second language magic.
Yep.
As we've seen before, there are sometimes subtleties in the original language that can lose something in translation.
Yep.
Like, well, just to pick an example, the second verse here where Olaf, OJ, Juglitza sort of raps, I'm here to set you free, I'm your lover, your brother, hey sister, let me cover your body with my love, with my love and just another vision of love that seems to be true, all we do, all the things that only lovers do. Now, I may be from Tasmania, but even there by 1995, getting love all over your sister was considered pretty bad form outside of Zion and Georgetown, at least.
I think it's bold to rhyme "I'm your lover" with your brother. So,
Yes.
and then...
and then hey
get-
sister, in
Hey
your next
sister,
just to
and then-
underline
yeah.
the fraternal relationship.
and I'm going to cover your body with my love. Look, probably time I rethought Another Night, Tom.
Hey, I'm just saying, maybe that translates better in the original
yeah,
Norwegian or whether the fuck they're
probably.
from.
I assume they were probably out of Italy or something like that. But yeah, look, okay, that's a fair point. Look, MC SARS and the Real McCoy. Yeah, look, I think that is a bona fide mid-90s Eurobeats classic.
Did you what did they do on MySpace? Did you get all that stuff? Not MySpace, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. Look,
Don't bother. If you didn't do it this time, it's okay.
oh, look, I didn't. But and the reason I didn't do it, Tom, is because it's been so long since we've done this. I actually forgot that I used to do that.
It's okay.
But no, the Real McCoy, they have 887,000 listeners.
Oh, yeah.
On the Spotify.
They must have had some fans in their hometown of word I can't pronounce.
Yeah. Look, just under a mil, so that's not too bad. I think, but the thing is, Tom, that they actually do have a few bangers, as I mentioned. This one, Another Night, and of course Runaway, which I think
would have been
people
playing
are-
in the nightclubs for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
It was on the radio all the fucking time.
Absolutely. So, look, I think it's pretty good. I am trying to really quickly Google the Real McCoy. Is this who the fuck is this guy? Sorry,
Is that
MC.
OG?
That might be MC SARS and the Real McCoy. So, look, Another Night, Tom. Just having a quick look on Discogs, and it looks like that. There's way too many versions of this, so
It's
but yeah, look, the vision of love that needs to be true. So that's what I'll say about that. Look, I'll find out in a minute. But that was that.
Speaking of weird shit from nightclubs, what's up next?
Holy shit! Now, what in the living fuck is going on here? This is very it's out there, but impressive and weird at the same time. Hocus Pocus. Here's Johnny.
Yeah.
Now, number one in Australia. Number one in Australia.
6 weeks too. Not a one hit wonder. Not a 1 week wonder.
No, 6 weeks of that. Now, number one in Australia, number two in Spain, and the rest of the world didn't give a flying fuck about this. Now, it's hard to know how this became a number one for 6 weeks in Australia. And I don't mean that in terms of the quality of the song, but I mean that in terms of the fact that this is not like anything else.
No.
So, we've just spoken about the Real McCoy Another Night, which is sort of, I guess, it's hardly, with the other Eurodance hits like that one, it's not really like Detroit techno, is it?
No,
It's
it's mainstream nightclub
Yeah.
dance that was prevalent at the time.
Yeah, this wasn't born from a warehouse, an abandoned warehouse rave in like Detroit or
No,
New York or something like that. The pop, the Eurodance hits are sort of very much like we're taking pop song structures of 3 minutes.
Yep.
We've got the beats happening.
And we
but-
found a new button on the keyboard
found a
that
new button to
sounds
it.
exactly the same as all of the other ones.
Exactly.
And it does half the song for you.
We've got the verse, which is just a dog shit rap. We've got a chick doing the chorus, and then
We haven't paid yet, and I've got my sister's hot friend to come and dance around and mime the words.
exactly. So that's sort of what you got there. But it's sort of, I guess you sort of water it down. You get the female vocal hook, some dog shit rapping, and then that's the song. But I was speaking to our resident Gabba expert, Tom, which is your brother, Ross, and he advised me that this is pretty much, par for the course for Gabba. This
Here's
isn't
Johnny, yes.
Here's
By
Johnny.
comparison to Eurodance,
They definitely didn't take this
No.
is like a hardcore
it's an
techno.
authentic, weird underground subgenre
Yep.
of like real European techno from, was it
Rotterdam.
Rotterdam, the
In the
Netherlands.
Netherlands, yep.
And Gabba is is it GABBA?
Yeah.
That was the name of this genre, which is a very tough, sort of almost industrial kind of high speed banging hardcore techno stuff.
Absolutely. So it's sort of, I think probably the key elements of it from what I can understand is that usually between 140 and 190 BPMs. So once you get to 190, you're getting up there.
Yeah, if you play that to Gen Z, they wouldn't
Yep.
know what to do with it now. That's
Very distorted kick drum. It always has that very distorted kick drum.
Oh, I thought that was accidental. Okay.
No, so that's deliberate. And a lot of movie samples. That seems to be that. So,
It's very percussive too. It's like 2/3 percussion, like
Yeah,
bang,
absolutely.
bang, 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 bang.
for sure. So this song is that effectively. The movie sample being, of course, from The Shining. When here's Johnny. That lot of distorted kick drum, and then also at the start a really annoying whirring sound, which is kind of funny, and it just does that. And the bizarre thing is that it's sort of like, so this is something that sounds like it's very much born from. I imagine that you could go to like a Gabba rave in an abandoned warehouse somewhere, and this song would probably be played with a bunch of other songs that sounded very similar, yet somehow it broke out of that and hit number one on the Australian charts for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That's what's unusual.
Yeah, in a time when a lot of people still didn't know much about techno music at all, really. And
exactly.
On the other side of the world, in a country, as you said, like one of the only 2 countries that gave a fuck about it outside of the place where it came from, where it wasn't number one anyway. Like it didn't chart there.
Exactly.
It's very strange. Hey?
Exactly right. So, look, we put the playlist every week for this on YouTube. So go listen to The Real McCoy Another Night, and then listen to Here's Johnny back to back, and you realise they are very, very, very different things. But look, according to the Wikipedia page on Gabba, tracksuits were very popular, and drug use was common. Tom.
Oh,
Can you believe that? Apparently, it was.
Who would have thought that to make this palatable, you'd have to be fucked up on drugs?
Yeah, you'd have to be on drugs.
And I tell you what, if you're trying to dance to something at anything over 150 BPMs, you want to be wearing, at minimum, a fucking sweatband and sneakers because...
No doubt. Air Maxes, I think, were very popular, apparently, in the Gabba scene. So
I'm old enough to remember going to drum and bass raves, and that was like that. There's essentially no point getting... Like, even the girls there, if you're going to take ecstasy and dance, there's no point wearing a cocktail skirt and heels because you're going to be fucked in 10 seconds. So everybody looks like they're on their way to an aerobics class, basically, wearing loose-fitting shit, sweatbands and sneakers, because you're basically running on the spot for hours at a time, fucked off your head.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And this is more intense than that.
It is,
so
yeah.
I can only imagine what the raves would have been like.
For sure. Look, I know you can't really play songs on podcasts because of, you got to get into the sort of the issue of rights, and like sort of having to royalties and that. So a lot of, even though this is a music-based podcast, we don't do any music. But I guess if I had to sort of do this song just with my mouth, it'd be like, and then bam, 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 and that's kind of the whole song. So
that's
it's
the
sort of
speed
that,
it goes
and just
at.
but
It
with a
goes
real just sort of yeah. But look, I think I enjoy this because it's completely nothing else. Like, I remember seeing this video clip as a kid on Rage, and I was like, "What in the living fuck is this?"
Yeah.
Can you tell me anything about the video clip?
Yeah, it was friggin'. I mean, it was again sort of early computer graphics. It's just sort of flying skeletons and flying trumpets, which I'm not even sure if trumpets are in the film, just kind of flying in and out of the screen. I mean, Jurassic Park came out in 93, and this looks like steaming hot turds by comparison. But I'm guessing that a Rotterdam Gabba club DJ didn't have the money to throw at Industrial Light and Magic for a video, so they had to make do with something that looks like the animated backdrop from a goth's MySpace page. But it sort of goes with the kind of weird, sort of out of place feeling of listening to the song at the time. There was, as we've covered previously, at this point in time in the mid 90s, there were so many genres, all imploding and falling in on top of each other, and scrabbling for the pop charts.
Absolutely.
Just random shit would fling off, and you'd get weird hits in the middle of nowhere. And this is definitely one of those. And the video just looks like that as well. It's just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Who is this for? Is this supposed to be like this? Is this meant to make sense? I don't know if it is, but yeah.
Yeah, look, I think if you think about sort of what type of music are people listening to, not right now because of lockdown. But warehouse radio still exists, obviously.
Yeah,
In some,
yeah.
and if people are listening to super underground stuff today or something that's unusual, is it like really, I don't know exactly, like is it just noise? Is it just sort of really industrial sort of noise type stuff?
I think
Are they
what it
listening
is
to, like,
weird now, I think it's more genre
Yep.
bending stuff now.
Yeah.
Like every time I listen to something that I genuinely haven't heard before now, it's usually genre mashing
Yep.
type of things. I'm sure there's shit that I'm too old to know about.
For sure. It's
But-
like 100 gex or something doing like vaporwave into like some bullshit. But
I think at this point, this sort of 95 to about 2000, with this Gabba and happy hardcore and hard bag and these other genres, they kind of peaked and drum and bass as well. They sort of it got to the apex of how fast you can realistically play music at and people will be able to dance to it or want to dance to it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of went back down. And by the time it got down to, even something like that people think I was being fairly intense, like dubstep, is way slow. It has breakdowns, but it's much, much slower than what we used to listen to.
Yeah.
And maybe in the future it'll crank up again. Maybe there'll be another movement and it'll go back up in that sort of thing. But I'm pretty sure it's not as fast as it used to be.
I think more I guess my question is, Tom, can you imagine something coming from the deep underground warehouse scene that is completely like
and getting
harsh
to
noise or
number
something?
one on the fucking
being
mainstream pop charts.
Exactly.
Like, it's hard to imagine.
I just
isn't it?
can't see a time again where I'm going to turn on Rage and the number one song is just something
Yeah.
that's come legitimately out of a basement or an abandoned warehouse.
Yeah,
like,
it's
what the
so
fuck is this?
unpolished. It's not like voguing where like Madonna goes to a nightclub in Spain and some hip drag queens take her to this thing that no one else knows about, and then she goes, fuck, this is cool, I'm going to use this for my next video, and then she kind of does a sort of palatable mainstream version of it. This is the actual thing. This would be like listening to the actual drag queens, whatever, or watching their actual routine, as performed in the nightclub sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I hope it happens again. I hope it. I hope
just
something like
completely
this
bizarre
happens.
pops up. So it's pretty good. Look, so your brother also, he turned me on to, I think there's like a Thunderdome Gabba series of CDs.
Oh,
that have come
okay.
out, like a sort of in this period of
Oh,
time.
like collecting.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So yeah,
Ah.
and apparently, it was weird. I was reading an article the other day on ABC, I think it was, and it was just like, are your CDs worth something? Because obviously vinyl was like the vinyl renaissance is come. So now it's like, what about the CD renaissance?
CDs are a lot more disposable.
And
but,
one of them in there was the Gabba Thunderdome Down Under collection. It's like, if you've got this in your bookshelf, which no one does, it's worth like $3,000.
Fucking hell, really?
So yeah,
they probably pressed about 6.
they
of
did.
them.
I think they didn't press very many. So if you got that at home, check it down.
Wow.
But yeah, so anyway,
I know there was, Ross will get annoyed at me for not remembering who it was, but there was one Australian group who used to wear balaclavas on stage, and it was like
from
2
Newcastle?
or 3 guys. Yeah, and
Nuss and Bluton.
they did Gabba.
Yeah.
It could be. And they interviewed them on this show once. Like it used to be on SBS. It was like the World Music Alternative Show.
Yeah.
And they talked to them because they were popular in the Netherlands.
Yep.
Just for this one specific type of music, and they talked to them. And I remember he said, and they were like showing them their recording studio, and it was just like. It was like Amigas, and he said,
Yes.
and the guy was just really dry sort of Newcastle guy who's just go like, yeah, we do most of our stuff on the Amiga, and he was like, oh, is that a good music recording machine? He's like, not really. It's basically, we pretty much do this style of music because we're limited to it by the capabilities of the Amiga.
Which is so sick. And if anyone doesn't know what an Amiga is, it's like a home computer from 1995
Yes.
that everyone had. That
that
was like,
didn't come with a hard drive built into it. It was
no, definitely.
500K.
It was Amiga
Raw
500.
power.
The disc, you put it into the actual keyboard. So that was that. But interestingly, Tom, you mentioned that. I did hear about, I think Ross told me about them, Nuss and Bluden, with that. And then I checked out the Wikipedia page, and it did mention that some other dudes on there were just like, yeah, we were way influenced by Amiga 500 core, which is like a subgenre of like Gabba, I think, where it's just dudes that are just like going, yeah, bro, we love that shit. So I'm going to get an Amiga 500. off eBay for probably
God.
$10. Find what
There's no-
software they're using.
Yeah,
Just blast
what
this
sort
out.
of proto reason it
How
would
were
have been
you-
back in those fucking days.
How were you getting the movie samples as well? Were you
Oh,
recording them
yeah.
just off the TV? I don't
Wouldn't
know.
we like MIDI? It would have all been fucking MIDI, but God knows how they would have
I don't
been
know.
doing samples.
I think that's
Yeah.
sick though. The fact they're using some
Oh,
of the
yeah.
shittiest equipment going. So
I do love that about the internet. Like somewhere out there's a group of Amiga core
Yeah,
guys
dude,
sending
absolutely.
each other their GABA tracks from across the world
Oh,
using
absolutely.
a 35-year-old piece of technology.
I remember finding a record label once that only released shit on floppy disk, and this is like in 2010, and it's just like all of our releases on floppy disk, and it's like you can only fit like a megabyte on there. Like, what is it? So it's just sort of like it's either the shittiest sound quality possible, or it's just like 10-second grindcore songs, and it's just that's all we can fit on there. So yeah, which is pretty good. But anyway, back to Hocus Pocus. So these guys were also Dupe. If
I
you can
remember that, yes.
So that was a song that was influenced by the Charleston, basically. So it was just 1920s
techno
Charleston,
yeah.
and then basically with like breakbeats, I think, under it, and just the only lyrics was Dupe.
By comparison, that would made a lot more sense.
Yes.
Like you watch the video clip and it's like sort of
Old
it's like
timey
Dayglow Charleston, like with that sort of 1920s flappers, and yeah, and this just sort of catchy, you know,
Yep.
it's just a kind of, but yeah.
was also-
Compare that to this, it's
For sure.
it's like, this is like a nightmare.
Yeah, so they released that, and that Dupe actually released number one in the UK, and obviously they didn't want to take a chance diminishing the goodwill Dupe had built, so they released this single under the name Hocus Pocus.
Oh, okay.
So-
So what were they actually called?
So Dupe released the song Dupe,
Oh,
but the same
okay.
two dudes
Oh, okay.
then released
So
Hocus
they were
Pocus
called
under Here's
Dupe
Johnny.
as
Yeah.
well.
They didn't want to diminish. They didn't want to say let's use the Dupe name for Here's Johnny. We don't want to diminish the goodwill we built from that, so let's release it under
Clever.
Hocus Pocus.
Clever.
And I was hoping that their name was also featured. This song should have been in the Bette Midler film Hocus Pocus, shouldn't it? Really,
Obviously,
but it obviously wasn't. So that was disappointing. So yeah, but yeah, the single was apparently released in 1994 in Australia when I had a look on Discogs. So
Here's Johnny.
yeah,
or
yeah,
Dupe.
and yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it took like a year or something to get number one.
Well,
I
maybe
think,
it
so.
was played in clubs and then it
Well, that's what I'm
somehow
thinking.
got on the radio.
Because I'm actually thinking, how did it get sort of here?
I mean, Triple J used to play this. I remember that. But
Okay.
they were like the youth station. Like, God, it's very hard to imagine classic rock radio
Yeah,
playing shit like
exactly.
this. Wow.
For sure. So Hocus Pocus, they're actually not on Spotify. So the song Here's Johnny is on Spotify, but it's in some sort of like playlist. I'm not quite sure how they got it on there. But anyway, so look, I'm having a quick look. I found them. Got it. 36,000 monthly listeners. Not bad
No.
off the back of this.
Sounds
so.
like a lot to me.
But
Not
then
much
also-
compared to Bruce Springsteen.
No, 36,000. But then you also got to realise that if people want to go and listen to Dupe, then that's a completely different artist. So like,
Oh, yeah.
So these dudes have
Gotcha.
sort of they've you go onto their Discogs page and they're in like 1,000 different things. So yeah, so good on them. Here's Johnny, Hocus Pocus, good stuff.
Sure. Lyrically,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
got
what do you-
2 words, so that's it. We've covered. Credit
Bam,
to
bam,
Jack
bam.
Nicholson for doing such a good delivery on that line with 2 words that people still say it now. I mean, he does a good job of poking his face through a hole in the door. I think that was one of those ones where fucking Kubrick made them do it, 78 times.
Yep.
That same thing. So
Yep.
you can only imagine what some of the other ones must have been like.
Absolutely. Have you-
Or was that how crazy it takes? You need 78 takes to get to look that crazy.
Kubrick was a
Go
perfectionist. I
that
guess.
mad. No, I mean
Absolutely.
to get an actor to look that fucking insane.
Exactly. Did you watch that documentary Room 2?
No,
Whatever- you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not a huge fan of fan theories, even
Yep.
when they're interesting. But yeah, hey, maybe it's better than I'm imagining it would be.
Look, I quite enjoyed it. But yeah, you're right. It is just a lot of fan theories about that film, obviously. Yeah, it was cool. Like, I sort of liked the fact that people were just like, it's someone that's watched The Shining 1,000 times.
Yeah,
just basically
sure.
like,
Yeah.
what if this means this or what if that means that? So, But yeah, no mention of Hocus Pocus, Here's Johnny in the documentary, which I found to be very disappointing. So
I mean, credit to him that he put that much depth into his films that it can be taken apart like an academic thesis all those years later.
yeah, definitely.
When somebody puts that much thought into detail of things, then it seems to justify in people's minds, well, then that must mean that everything in it
Yep.
means something, like all the details. If he put that much effort into this detail, then this detail must be as meaningful.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even, let's face it, even geniuses have a day where they go, oh, fuck it, that'll do.
It's okay. Let's just put, some, we need dishwashing liquid in the background. It's just Omo. And then, but people are just, that's just what we had at the, where people are just going, he would have chosen that for a reason. Why? But probably one of the more interesting fan theories from the film, Tom, was that the moon landing wasn't hoaxed. People did go to the moon.
Yep.
But the footage that they filmed, that they've shown, the world, as everyone has seen, of the moon landing, Kubrick filmed that in a studio.
I had heard
So
that it was
this is-
him doing it, but I didn't know, why in this theory did they use Kubrick?
So they go to the moon. They can't film anything on there because they realise that they can't, or the camera's fucked or whatever. So they didn't get anything. So they're like, Kubrick, can you whip something up that looks like it's on the moon? And then in The Shining, he drops all these clues that it's actually that he did it.
I see, because he's got such a big ego that he.
So he dropped some clues in the
I
film
see.
about. So people, if you watch The Shining, all the clues in there are in there that Kubrick actually filmed the moon landing. So. Is it true? Probably bullshit. It sounds pretty fake, but look, Kubrick's dead now. We can't ask him, can we? So
No.
yeah. Anyway, alas. So that was 6 weeks of Here's Johnny. Pretty crazy. Up next, 6th of May for 2 weeks. Take that back for good.
Back in the charts, at least we've had to take that number one previously.
Yep. So look, these guys put together as the British answer to New Kids on the Block, who I think at this time, Tom, in 1995, I think New Kids on the Block were gangster rap and going by NKOTB. I think they'd repositioned
Yes,
themselves as
they
sort of
were
like
the bad boys.
bad boys, exactly. And people were like, wait a minute, are you the guys that did Hangin' Tough? I don't really think you are bad boys, but still. The original name for Take That was Kick It. Is that a better bad name or a worse bad name?
I think it's a worse bad name.
Hey, Tom,
Yes.
I hear you're in a band. What are they called?
Kick it.
Yeah. Tom, I hear you're in the band. What are they called?
Take that.
Yeah, it's better. You're right. It is better.
I mean, they're equally silly, but I think
Take that with an exclamation point. I would have been like, "Fuck yeah!" So,
they're both slightly more aggressive than the band actually
yeah,
deserves.
I think
really.
so. Yeah, kick it sounds like bad boys. Like
Yeah, Kick It sounds like a better name for a rebranded New Kids on the Block than an anagram of the word knob.
Yeah.
Which is what they decided to go with. The rare acronym that is unpronounceable and is harder to say than the actual non-shortened name.
Absolutely.
Like World Wide Web, of course.
For sure.
Yes.
And, if New Kids on the Block, if you shorten it to NKOTB and put on a leather jacket, I mean, I don't know, are people buying it? It's like, these guys are bad boys, not sure.
And I mean, speaking of bad boys as well, I understand that these guys East 17 were the bad boys
Yep.
compared to them. I think East 17 came first.
They were, yeah. I think E17 even rebranded to E17 at some
I think
stage.
they did.
So,
But
which is,
E17, as much far as I know, they didn't write their own songs, did
no.
they? They were a constructed.
yeah, look,
band.
I'm not. They might have written some. I'm not like whether they had that one guy, but look, credit where credit's due for Take That. I mean, unlike the other boy bands, as you mentioned, Tom, Gary Barlow, who's a member of the group, he penned, I think, maybe not all of them, but the vast majority of their hits, obviously including this one, Back for Good, which was number one for 2 weeks. Now, all the songs are total and utter fucking dog shit, but still credit where credit's due for the fact that this dude wrote them.
True,
So I
they
don't-
wrote
yeah.
hits. I'd put them above Stockache and Water.
Oh, they're fucking garbage, of course, absolutely. So look, they first sung this song at the 1995 Brit Awards, and it created such a stir that its release date had to be brought forward. People just went,
Wow.
I need that song in my life. I've heard it, on the Brit Awards. I need a copy of that. It sold 350,000 copies in its first week, which was the most in 10 years for a single to sell. And it sold about 1 million copies overall in the UK, which is crazy. And number one in so many countries. I don't want to list them all because I can't be bothered. But it was also their only US top 40 hit.
Okay.
So look, it's one of those things where it's like big in the UK, didn't quite translate to the US. They were just like, we don't need any of this bullshit. But apparently Gary Barlow, the reason this was such a big hit was that when he was writing the song, he said, I want to write something that I'm aiming at the mums and dads and the kids.
Sure.
Why not? How do you do that, Tom? How do you take a song that is equally appealing to the mums and dads and the kids?
Well,
You write something as dog shit as this, obviously, because it is fucking terrible. But I don't know.
the term lowest common denominator gets thrown around a lot. But as we sometimes say, if it was that easy to do, then way more people would fucking do
That's
it.
correct,
So, credit for figuring it out.
So this was their only number one in Australia. They had 12 in the UK, 12 number ones there, so
Yeah,
that's a lot.
wouldn't surprise me.
So look, Robbie Williams, he obviously left the group after this song. I'm not quite sure when he left, but it was probably around this time or a bit later. And he became enormous. Obviously, Robbie Williams is the dude that most people know. What's your favourite Robbie Williams song? Do you have a favourite one? Because...
I'm a big fan of... oh, no.
no, go. What you
I
got?
was going to say... I'm a big fan of the Robbie Williams and Kylie Minogue song where they both happen to rap in the song Kids, where I believe that Kylie says that she's been dropping beats since Back in Black, and Robbie Williams ends the song with ain't no chance of the record company dropping me, press be asking do I care for sodomy, I don't know, yeah probably. I've been looking for serial monogamy, not some bird that looks like Billy Connolly.
That's good.
Which is that cheeky sense of humour that people were apparently into at the same
People
time.
love
as
that cheeky
Ralph
sense of
magazine, Loaded magazine, and
And Kylie would have done a bit of a...
Oasis.
I don't look like Billy Connolly, so it's okay. We can, bone after this song.
Sure.
So, so that's good. That's a good one, Tom. Because my favourite is probably Rude Box, which is the lead single off his 7th album, Rude Box, which features the lyrics, Rude Box, shake your rude box, why are you so nasty? Now, I don't know what he means by rude box, but it features Robbie Williams rapping throughout the whole thing, and it is worse than you can imagine. It's probably as bad as that Kylie song. Rude Box, is it just a song about vaginas? I don't know. What is your rude box?
I'm pretty
Has
sure.
to be a cunt, doesn't it? I assume it is. So yeah. But
If
look,
it was someone else, I might think it was a weird metaphor, but it's Robbie Williams
look,
we're talking about.
these lyrics are some of the fucking worst lyrics, the rap part that I've ever heard in my entire life. And no hyperbole, Tom. This is
For
really, really
Rude
bad.
Box.
Yeah. I'm just going to read some out. I could read the whole song. It's fucking atrocious. But it's basically just like, okay then, back to bass heads. Dance like you've just won at the Special Olympics. Now, is that okay?
Does that even rhyme?
It doesn't rhyme. It doesn't rhyme at all. But what does that mean? Dance like you've just won at the Special Olympics. They got the Rude Box off the back of a spaceship. So sick, I just had to take it. RUDEBOX, up your jacksy, split your keks, a song full of Semtax, pocket full of Durex, body full of Mandrax. Are we gonna have sex? Yes. Do you wear your knee socks? Yes. What the fuck does any of that mean? It's absolutely dog shit. And then he goes on
This is what
to...
happens when white British people try to rap.
Yeah, and then we've got... And we know the era here. It's like, take both pills, fuck the Matrix. Jack those jewels, shake your Playtex. Rock 3 stripes, not the Asics. So, product, I don't know. Look, fucking
I mean,
hell.
I've heard worse rap, but you can say that about any rap song, really, can't you?
Yeah, look, it's worse than you can imagine, Tom. But look, I think apart from it just being really bad lyrics, what happened was that Robbie Williams, he recorded this album. I think he'd just signed to EMI. I think he might have just signed a new deal with EMI. So I think he'd come
with
from
Reebok. At one point he had the record for highest signing of all time. I think he got a 10-album deal for £50 million
It might have
or
been
something
this,
like
yeah.
that. That was at the height of his British success when he did have I mean, he did have, even over here around Europe and Australia and stuff, he had a legitimate shit ton of massive hits. I can sort of see the logic, but, you know, it was still working off a model of, you know, publishing.
Absolutely.
That was on its way out at the time.
So he'd signed this deal. They said, look, okay, here's $50 million. So he obviously recorded Rude Box. The lead single, Total Dog Shit, we've just talked about, some of the worst lyrics imaginable. But what happened with Tom was that over 1 million copies of unsold Rude Box CDs they were sent to China, crushed by EMI, and the recycled product was then used to surface roads. So somewhere in China, and I think I know where it was, somewhere in China there's an entire road, a highway, so to speak, that has been made out of crushed Robbie Williams Rude Box CDs. Now, as far as I know, that was in Xinjiang province, and I think the road in question, effectively, it was a road that went to a Muslim re-education camp for the Uyghurs, as far as I know, just from the research I've done on the internet. So, you know, what we have here is effectively people that, you know, you have a Muslim minority in China, you know, they're persecuted. People don't agree with their beliefs on a whole, you know, the Chinese population. The government says, we don't like your belief system. So they're sent to re-education camps. You know, their culture stripped away from them. They're forced into slave labour sort of situations, from what I understand, picking cotton. You know, their language, their clothing, songs, traditions, everything is stripped away from them. Some of them are beaten. People have been raped. People have died. And I sort of feel like, Tom, that maybe if Robbie Williams had just written a better album and those CDs weren't sent to China and they weren't crushed and that road wasn't built, those people would still be alive today. I think, you know, I'm not saying that Robbie Williams is a murderer, but he's definitely an architect of repression and he has blood on his hands.
Yes, human rights violation.
Human rights violation. If he'd just written better songs, you know, not written such a shitty rap, collaborated with better people, spent more time on that album, those Uyghurs would still be alive today. That's what I'm saying. And I don't want to say, you know, I think that when those people tell their grandkids about the sort of what it was like in these camps, you know, they tried to destroy our culture, they tried to, you know, our lives, our beliefs, everything like that. You know, friends I knew died, people were very suspicious of one another. You know, it was a really terrible time, and, you know, it's not something that I want to live again, but I had to do that because, you know, I think that it's good to keep your beliefs. But, you know, at the same time, the road that they sent us there was made out of crushed Robbie Williams Rude Box CDs. So in many ways, it was probably worth it. Do you reckon? I don't know whether that's sort of... I don't know.
I suppose it depends on
there's two ways
their
to look
love
at it.
of his album Rude Box.
Yeah, exactly. Shake your Rude Box, why are you so nasty? But yeah, I don't know. So look, overall, terrible song, human rights violation, and thousands of people have died as a result of how bad it was.
By contrast, Take That song, Back for Good, is less, you know, to do with human rights violations, more just a sort of cheesy ballad. And yeah, I think we've covered it fairly well, I would say.
Absolutely.
Lyrically, hey, remember when I was giving shit to Kylie and Robbie's lyrics? They seem like good days back then. Look, there's only one thing I ever heard anyone discuss lyrically at the time. Let me ask a question. Whatever I said, whatever I did, I didn't mean it. I just want you back for good. Now, do you reckon that makes the singer seem like he's A, a pussy-whipped beta male cuck type?
Yep.
Or B, does it make him sound like a passive-aggressive dildo who's using an apology to wallpaper over his total lack of interest in fixing any real problems with his behaviour? Or possibly both. I guess you can have both.
Oh, probably, yeah. I think it's probably both. I don't know.
Whatever I said, whatever I did, I didn't mean it. I just want you back for good.
Well, it is passive aggressive, and it's like, oh, whatever I said. He's not even acknowledging the error that he's made. He's just sort of saying, you've said that I've done whatever I've said, whatever. I didn't mean that. I just want you back for good. And they just go, okay, I'd kick that cunt to the curb. So,
Yeah,
especially if it was Robbie Williams.
too little, too late. Frankly, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's it. If it's Robbie that's saying that and you stick with him, then you basically just ended up staying with someone who results in sort of mass deaths. So I don't really know whether that's a good thing. Get rid of him. Keep him. Get rid of that guy. Get rid of. Look, it's not for me to say, but do you reckon that's about a real person, or do you think it's sort of more of a? Do you reckon these songs are written about real people?
Yeah.
Like it's sort of.
Given the fact that he said he was trying to write a song for parents and kids and
Yep.
stuff like that, I'm suspecting that probably he's just trying to, think of a song
Yeah.
that's this is the audio equivalent of a mid-90s Richard Curtis movie. It's like watching Four Weddings and a Funeral, while it rains outside on a VHS and you've already seen it 20 times.
Absolutely.
It's just it's so boring that I can struggle to find anything interesting to say about it.
Yeah, look, this song
Even
sucks shit.
derisively.
It's pretty bad. Look, actually,
I've heard worse. I'm just saying it's bland
Oh,
as
it
fuck.
sucks. Yeah, I like Rude Box more than this, and I've just talked about how much I hate that. So
At least it was interesting enough to get turned into a genocide highway.
for sure, he drops Genocide Highway exactly. So that's the name of his next album, I think it was. So because he just realised that just in case this goes really badly and this gets crushed into a sort of road,
As
then,
John Cochran once said, genocide is a highway.
it is absolutely. I want to ride it all night long.
What
up
have we got
next.
Oh, okay.
20th of May for 2 weeks. Sorry, no, 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Goodness me. Look, no disrespect to Meryl Bainbridge. This is Meryl Bainbridge Mouth. This is the next song.
Yep.
No disrespect to Meryl, but I'd completely forgotten that both she and this song existed until doing research for
Had
this.
to take a moment as
Yeah.
well.
As soon as I listened to it on YouTube and went, I do remember this now, but I literally erased it from my memory to
It's
the
a
point
weird
that
one. This is a one-hit wonder, and it was an Australian-only one-hit wonder as far as I know. Meryl is Australian.
I have a feeling that how there's the long tail, I guess, so to speak, like of a lot of these songs where they're a big hit,
Yeah.
and then they sort of obviously the play trails off to it's not going to be as played as much as when it's a hit, but sort of they get played forever. I'll go into
classic rock. Yeah,
of course you go into the IGA, I'm still going to hear Phil Collins' Susu Studio.
Yeah. One Night in Bangkok.
One Night in Bangkok.
Sure.
Oh, especially Coles Radio. I'm probably still going to get a bit of La Bouche and all the other Eurobeat songs that I've spoken about previously. But this is one of those ones that it seems like by 1995, just nobody played it ever again.
No.
End of 95, I mean, because I can't recall hearing this since it came out.
Yeah. It is a weird style. It's a kind of... It's very basic.
Indie-ish pop kind of...
Yeah, sort of with kind of quirky female vocals. It's not even really calling it a style, but there were some songs around in that vein at that time. But yeah, I mean, on top of that, it's a very basic song. It's pretty much just like a half-spoken vocal and a sort of plinky piano with a weird sort of effect on it that makes it sound almost like a harpsichord or something.
Yep.
But it's kind of bouncy, it's got a sort of bouncy backbeat. But apparently the right promotion, you can get a number 4 hit in the US.
Yep.
Which is what this got to, seemingly. And yeah, although the album didn't even crack that top 100, yeah.
I think if we could get Meryl on the podcast, is it too rude to just say what the fuck you've been up to for 25 years, or is that okay? Is that street legal? I don't know whether it is.
With someone like Meryl, I suspect maybe she just got another career.
Probably, yeah. But interesting, this was released in Australia in October 1994, and then it disappeared quickly due to a lack of interest in airplay, charting outside the top 100.
Yeah.
Single was released, didn't even crack the top 100. No one gave a flying fuck about it. Yeah. Then the song was repackaged, reissued in 1995, and with the help of airplay and a bit more promotion, so they spent a bit more cash on it. The single belatedly entered the ARIA Top 100 charts in March 1995 at number 60.
Yeah.
So it cracked the top 100, but still number 60. You're not getting on Rage at 60. They only
No.
played the top 40 or whatever. So then it stayed in there for ages and ages and ages. Must have got a bit more airplay, picked up a bit of momentum, and then finally, after 9 weeks, I think, in the charts, it hit number one and then stayed there for 6 more weeks.
Okay.
So that was pretty good. It's apparently the longest running number one by an Australian female in the 90s.
Wow.
So that's pretty good, 6 weeks. So it spent 26 weeks in the charts, and it was the 4th highest selling single for 1995.
It does have that catchiness quality
Yep,
that we talked about that is distinct from any other
Yep.
form of quality.
for sure.
Like
Now-
I could still remember the chorus of this. I'd forgotten every
Oh,
other thing about
yeah,
it, but
absolutely.
like as soon as I'd heard the title, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Now, Tom, ARIA charts. We're talking about the ARIA charts. ARIA Awards.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about the ARIA Awards that much, but it's obviously the awards that are every year. I think it's based on basic
Australian
record sales.
Grammys,
Yeah,
basically,
it is
yeah.
effectively. So this year, Meryl Bainbridge in 1995, she got 5 nominations, which is pretty good. Single of the Year, Best Female Artist, Best New Talent, Breakthrough Artist, and Best Pop Release. No wins.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's face it, this song does not belong in any of those categories.
I mean, if you get nominated for 5, you show up to those awards. The ARIA's call, you've been nominated for 5 things. You're like, fucking A. I'm going to take home at least one of these things. You show up and then you go home with nothing. It's like
I think that says more about the Arias
than Meryl. Yeah, probably does.
Yes.
I think you're right.
I mean, even something like Best New Talent and Breakthrough Artist single both imply that the artist is going to then proceed to have a career in the music
Yeah,
industry.
exactly.
It'd be like the modern equivalent would be giving, you know, on the day that they come number one on X Factor, just walking up and handing Davo Stewart, who just won with his banjo country hit performance of an Oasis song or whatever.
Yep.
Congratulations, you're the best breakthrough new talent. I mean, it's true in the sense that he broke through from no one knowing who he is to people knowing who he is, but it still implies that, oh, okay, this is just the start of his career, not that, and that's the last, so he broke through the wall, said hi, turned around, and then fucked off into the void.
Well, that effectively
which
what
is
it
what
is.
happened to Meryl in this
It's like
instance.
people didn't know who you were, now they know who you are, but you still haven't done anything of note.
Yeah.
But I think look, what this shows to me, Tom, is, and effectively is that, as we've mentioned, released originally October 94, was it right? Yep, no one cared, repackaged, re-released,
Yeah.
took time. So it just goes to show that I think that, if you stick with something for long enough, it's a good thing because occasionally, from time to time, it just takes people time to acknowledge mediocrity. Is that correct?
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, it's sort of, I don't know what you mean. It makes you wonder what role the promotion played in it.
And also that sort of makes you think what songs were under-promoted in the
Yes,
past
but could have been
that
bigger.
topped out at 23, but a bit more promotion could have hit number one.
Yeah.
But I think what I take away from this is that Meryl, she stuck with it for a long time, finally got a number one hit. So I'm thinking of sort of other artists that I respect that, have been at it for a while and haven't really broken through, but they should stick with it. And one of them that comes to mind is probably my favourite rapper, Melbourne rap icon Raid. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Raid,
I
Tom.
don't know the raids.
RAE to the motherfucking D. Look, No More Tears to Cry is one of the finest rap songs I've ever heard in my life. He, I think, has been declared by several publications as, quote, the worst rapper of all time, end quote.
Was he
But
Australian?
He's Australian.
Oh, good.
And
I'm proud we can take that title.
he's got a song called Love This City, which is about Melbourne. Still flowing. I've Come a Long Way, Baby. He's released a film, which is available on YouTube, talking about his entire career. Everything he's ever released, it's effectively, he is, you've obviously, I don't know whether everyone that listens to this podcast has seen The Room, but he is effectively the
okay.
Tommy
Wiseau.
Tommy Wiseau
Australian.
of Australian rap. Like, legitimately that level of just no self-awareness, just completely terrible, but yeah, I fucking love that guy. So
And I'm assuming he still played daily on Triple J during one of their daily 6-hour-long white hip-hop brackets.
well, he's not white. But
Oh, he's not?
No,
Okay. Sorry, terrible hip-hop.
No, he's I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to say in case I get it wrong, because but yeah, I wouldn't. He's not indigenous. He's not African.
Okay.
Middle Eastern-ish.
Sure.
Is that something? Can you still say Middle Eastern? I don't even know. Maybe sort of. I'm not going to say Lebanon, but maybe within that sort of.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
His
so
name sort of suggests that a bit.
exactly, but he is through and through one of the finest rappers that this country has. Go check him out on YouTube. I might even add a couple of tracks as bonus on the playlist this
Sure.
week. But yeah, so that's a bit of a Meryl Bainbridge, completely unrelated to Meryl. They might be dating now, I don't know. Raid and Meryl, you've heard it here first on the podcast. Meryl Bainbridge is dating Australian rapper Raid. Tell your friends, hot couple, good stuff. So that was for 6 weeks. Up next, for 1 week, 1st of July, Bryan Adams, have you ever really loved a woman?
Oh God.
Sorry, did you have some lyrical highlights from Meryl? Did I skip ahead too much?
That's okay. Like, there's not a lot to say. It does have weird, slightly odd lyrics.
No, please hit me with them. I've skipped ahead too fast.
No, that's okay. I was going to say that song, because like I know I said before that no one's ever heard of Meryl Bainbridge outside of
Yep.
Australia, but that song was number 4 in the US somehow.
That's pretty
It
good.
shows what promotion can do. As I said, her album didn't even crack the top 100 there. And if you're wondering, just after all that we said about how her second album went, let's just say that it had a cover of I Got You Babe featuring Shaggy on it. And let's leave it there.
What?
So I am kind of vaguely curious to hear that. I'm sure it's
A
awesome.
cover of I've Got You Babe with Shaq. How the
Featuring
how-
Because neither of them really sing, but
No.
neither of them really rap either. I'm wondering how that would
No.
actually go.
No.
Anyway.
That's good.
Lyrics. It's got slightly weird lyrics. When I kiss your salty lips, you'll feel a little crazy, but for me, I'll be famous on TV.
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck does that mean, Ben? I don't know.
I've got absolutely no idea.
Does she think that eating Pringles and making out will attract the attention of a news crew? Is she saying that if it wasn't for her shit personality, she'd be famous? Or is she masterminding a new Jamie Kennedy experiment-style prank show where she just sexually assaults strangers inside a series of fish and chip shops? I don't know. It's all up in the air.
Very
Anyway,
much
that's
so.
enough about Meryl.
56,000 listeners on the Spotify.
Wow.
So it's a few
So
more.
not that many more than Hocus Pocus.
No, not that many more.
The
Absolutely.
Dutch Gabba experts.
So that's a lot, yeah, for sure.
I'd rather dance to Gabba. Than
I
that,
think so. I think so. So
All
anyway,
right,
so sorry,
what do
Tom.
we got next then?
Well, Tom, it's a big surprise. It is Bryan Adams. Have you ever really loved a woman? Now, this featured in the film Don Juan DeMarco,
Yes, I have seen that.
a 1995 American romantic comedy drama. Johnny Depp, a man who believes himself to be Don Juan, the greatest lover in the world.
You'll be surprised to hear that
Is it
in this
fucking
film,
garbage or is it okay?
Johnny Depp, it's both whimsical and romantic, and he plays a handsome outsider who wears slightly unconventional clothing that involves a lot of vests, and all the hot chicks think he's super hot. So yeah,
Fantastic.
that's about all I can remember about it. I remember there was a scene at the start where he essentially picks up a woman by fingering her fingers.
Oh,
I
good.
was like, well, I don't know if this is erotic, but I've never seen that in a film before. So,
No, absolutely.
credit where credit's due.
Look, Johnny, he's always innovating. I think he's a method actor. He's probably tested it out in a few bars and clubs beforehand. I don't know. Has he been outed in the Me Too movement yet? I know that his former wife or partner has suggested he's an abusive person.
I think
I don't know.
I think it's more along the lines of crazy, reckless, violent behaviour as opposed to actual full-on creepy
Drunk,
sex. Yeah,
gets
just
drunk and gets a bit crazy. And
shit-faced. I think he's older than he looks, and he grew up in the era when actors. The actors that he looked up to would have been the kind of people where it was considered as part of your duty as a manly actor to be an alcoholic who treated women like shit, got mad at everybody, was hard to work with, smashed everything up, was a method arsehole, created tabloid headlines everywhere he went, etc. And he seems to be still living in that world where he thinks that's how actors and dressing.
Yep.
Let's not forget,
Like
that kind of
a pirate.
dude. What do you do in interviews? Oh, you just mumble surlily, and then you come up with one funny thing to say per every 10-minute interview, and that's the only bit anyone can hear. So then everyone's like, "Oh, he's so funny." But anyway. But all of that said, I will say that Don Juan DeMarco still is better than this song.
Oh, this song sucks shit.
It deserves a better soundtrack.
Oh, for sure. Can you believe that this song was nominated for the best original song at the 60th Academy Awards, but
like
lost to
the
"Colours of the
Walking
Wind" from Pocahontas, which is fair enough.
Christ, who wrote that?
But Bryan Adams, as we've learned, there was a time where I just assumed, and I think we've spoken about this before, that in the 80s, you're doing a soundtrack, you get on the phone to Kenny Loggins, but it turned at a certain point in time where everyone just went Bryan Adams, because he's been every single number one almost that we've spoken about has been soundtrack shit,
You're right.
and most of them have been fucking hot garbage.
And I will say too, to give him a small measure of credit, Colours of the Wind is fucking appalling.
Yeah.
I listened to it. This was from a very bad period of Disney. This is it's pre their comeback with fucking Aladdin and The Lion King when they started to get good music again. This just sounds like discount Barbra Streisand. And
awful.
It sucks shit even by the standards of 90s Disney music. The only good thing about it, the only good thing about this song, Bryan Adams wise, I would have said, sorry, I'm switching back to Bryan Adams, is that it features some pleasant flamenco guitar
It does.
by a guy called Paco de Lucia, who isn't Bryan Adams.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the one thing that makes this sound just not exactly like the last 4 Bryan Adams songs out of movies that we already talked about.
Well, that's the thing. It's I need to do something different. Let's get some flamenco guitar in there. Now, in the music video, Bryan is rocking a Zorro-style mask that looks absolutely fucked. It's
like they tried to give it this kind of South American flavour somehow in this. But even though the song doesn't sound like that at all in any way, it just has that one little flamenco guitar bit briefly, and for 20 seconds you go, it's like I'm listening to a different song. Oh no, we're back to Bryan Zorro Adams,
Yeah, exactly. And look, I think you listen to the lyrics, and look, I don't know. To really love a woman, to understand her, you got to know her deep inside. Now, we know that Bryan Adams has been deep inside Rod Stewart and Sting, and he understands them. Yes. So there must be some truth to the incredibly shit lyrics here. I think, he knows them very well. He understands them well because he's been deep inside them in that gangbang from the previous... That was another soundtrack song, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. No, this is seriously. It's like there's one a year for the last the whole 90s.
Well, there's this, that one, the 3, All for Love one, and then obviously from fucking Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Yep. It's at least there's 3 that I can think of. There's probably several more, but yeah. And here's the thing.
They were just the number ones. These are just number ones
exactly.
we're talking about.
And the thing is that they don't hire big names to write songs for new films these days, do they? Is that why Bryan Adams hasn't had a hit for 20 years? Because they don't just go, do they still do it?
We've talked about this before. To me, it seems to me that they use music in movies still, obviously, but it doesn't seem like they hire people specifically to say, hey, look, can you do a theme song for this film? They just go, who's in the charts? Ring up bloody Cardi B and say, hey, Cardi B, can we borrow, I've got a giant ass for our next movie? And she go, no worries, give us $2 million.
I mean,
I'll wear the costume in my next video.
This year, 2021, what's going to be one of the biggest films, you think? Is it going to be it'll be some Marvel thing, will it? Will it be June?
Could be June. Could be the new James Bond film. Yep. I think that got big.
So here's a question. Do the producers of James Bond, give Bryan Adams a call and say, bro, we saw your work on Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. We saw your work on Don Juan DeMarco. We need something. They don't do that these days, do they?
No, they don't.
It's why he doesn't have a hit, because people are just like, we don't want some bullshit film thing.
Yes, the problem is, he would have made enough money to buy several castles.
Oh,
of course. Discussed, this is in the 90s where if you were big and you had a good record deal, you would make a fuck ton of money off just selling records, charting and stuff. But I mean, song-wise, who does anybody listen to this now? Like, to compare this to something slightly more challenging, just from this year, Baby Did a Bad Bad Thing by Chris Isaac came out this same year, and he would have been in the same part of the record shop
It's a much better
at that
song,
time.
yeah.
Like, he would have been in the kind of, male pop
Yeah.
/ easy listening type stuff. Baby Did a Bad Bad Thing shits on this from high orbit. That only got to number 9 in the US charts, 29 on the Billboard Top 40, despite the video featuring both Chris Isaac and Letitia Castor, who are both smoking hot instead of Bryan Adams, who looks like Bryan Adams,
Yep.
swanning around with an elderly flamenco guitarist wearing
wearing
a
a mask, a
dumb
Zorro
sort of
mask.
Zorro mask, like pretending he's in the film, which he's not. A film
Does Johnny
which people
Depp
have
wear that
forgotten
mask in the film?
No, I
Well,
don't.
just like,
think
what's
so
I was
either.
like, is this
It's
from
what I mean.
Zorro?
It's just like someone's gone. It's black and white too. It's like, oh, it's from a film. I think the film's something to do with Zorro, or some South American shit. Just make it look South American. Just
Yeah, it sucks.
hire a bloody crumbling Spanish villa in Mexico somewhere and film there for a weekend. But yeah, man, just Bryan Adams just has not aged that well.
No,
If I was Bryan Adams now and I didn't have $28 billion or however much
Yep.
he's worth, I would be calling up Lonely Island, going, "Please, can you make me ironically cool again?
Yep.
I'll wear a dress in the video or whatever. I'll pretend to be."
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever it takes. I'll do a song about dildos, just make me cool again.
Look, Bryan Adams, he has 15 million monthly listeners on Spotify, but no one is listening to this song. It's all of his other hits, I guarantee you.
Oh,
You listen to
yeah.
others- no one's
This
gonna
is
listen
shit
to this.
even by Bryan Adams
Yeah, this
standards.
sucks.
Even by the standards of the ones we've already discussed, this is only 1 week. It's only
exactly.
and this film has been forgotten. At least those other films were
Yeah, exactly.
famous at the time.
Look, the lyrics of this are fucking horseshit, but I think that Bryan Adams, he really hit peak horseshit lyrics on the song "Let's Make It a Night to Remember." I don't know if you remember that one, but it's "Let's make it a night to remember." The lyrics are, "Let's make it a night to remember from January to December. Let's make love to excite us, a memory to ignite us. Let's make honey baby soft and tender. Let's make sugar darling sweet surrender." Now, a night to remember from January to December. Now, I don't know a lot about calendars or how days or time works. I'm not, a physicist that can really talk through the intricacies of that. But if someone said, "Hey, mate, come on, let's make it a night to remember," I would assume that means on that specific evening we would go and let's have a few
Yeah.
beers, whatever. But a night to remember for Bryan Adams is from January to December, which is a fucking full calendar year. And then he says, "Let's make honey and let's make sugar." So Brian says, "Let's have a night to remember." You go, "Okay, mate." And the next thing you know, you're signed up. You're in a honey manufacturing business.
Yes.
You signed a contract to harvest cane sugar for 12 months. You're like, "Mate, this isn't it at all. I thought me and Brian were going out to have a few beers, and now I'm like fucking trying to harvest cane sugar for 12 months. Fuck that. Makes no
Also,
sense."
By the nature of the statement, if a night to remember occurs 365 nights a year,
Yeah.
how fucking memorable is
It's
it
not
going to be?
memorable at all.
I mean, I'm sure the first time he licked honey off Rod Stewart's ass,
Exactly.
that was very memorable. But, after he'd done it for 3 solid years every single night, I'm sure, they were going, "Hey, let's see if Sting will come in. We need to, mix this up a bit."
I think that's probably how the three-way originated. So,
I'm pretty sure.
but definitely, I mean,
All right,
those
let's
suck.
move away from here.
Move on
The
from
audio
that.
equivalent
Are there
of
any-
a Canadian tuxedo, for fuck's sake.
Any highlights?
I
lyrically,
think
or is
you've
it
covered
just-
the
okay,
lyrics
cool.
pretty good.
All right, up next for six weeks. Here's U2, "Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me."
Yes.
6 weeks of that. This is from the Batman Forever film, so you know it's good. We spoke about Batman
We
Forever at the
did,
very
yes.
top of the episode. Look, so effectively, U2's involvement, the soundtrack, began when director Joel Schumacher, he tried to get a cameo for Bono.
Yes.
So Bono, we talked a few weeks about how Bono has all these different
At this
alter
point,
egos.
yeah, he'd started dressing up as different characters on stage.
Yeah, so he had
And you
one.
can sort of get the logic. Like, Batman's full of colourful characters and shit.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
thought we'll have a party. We'll have fucking Bono walk past in the background wearing a friggin' devil cape or some shit like that.
Exactly. So they were going to say, Bono, you're Mephisto in Batman Forever. So
So every time you say that name, can I say, just for the benefit of people,
Mephisto.
it's spelt Macphisto,
Yep.
and it's supposed to be a joke on Mephisto, as in the devil,
Yep.
obviously. But every time you hear someone say it, it just sounds like
Mephisto.
the new, anal sex-related hamburger from McDonald's is coming out with,
I think off the back of the Windows 7 burger, I think, Tom, that's the one that comes out after
try
that.
the
So,
new
yeah.
Mephisto.
Yeah.
Remember to do some amyl beforehand.
Exactly. So, look, apparently the character Mephisto is meant to attend a party scene in
Yeah,
Batman Forever.
makes sense.
So, although both tried to make the scene happen, they both came to agree that it wasn't suitable for the film.
Okay.
So, if an idea wasn't good enough for Batman Forever, then you know it was completely fucked.
Have you
So,
seen Batman
I
Forever?
have. It's
okay.
completely fucked.
Is,
No,
do you reckon, is
I
it
don't know.
better or worse than Batman and Robin, do you think?
Is that the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the worst
With
one.
the ice
That's the
puns.
absolute worst one.
Yeah,
but
this one has Jim Carrey.
But
and
that
Tommy Lee
one
Jones.
is so shit that you can watch it in sort of like a comical, like, fuck, this is a... I think this one's just a bit more boring. So,
It has a
but
car
then again,
driving up a vertical wall.
but I would
remember
have.
that.
But then again, I would have seen this in like the 90s and not since.
True,
So I
true.
don't know. Look, Tom, maybe we should do a full Batman screening of all the Batman. That would take us 6 weeks to get through. And I mean that not as in doing one a week. I mean just literally 6 weeks of watching them back to back. There's so much stuff.
I can't
So,
watch Batman and Robin again because I still have PTSD from watching, what's his name, try to be Robin.
yeah,
Who was that
exactly.
long forgotten actor's name.
Yeah.
Fucking, he's in Scent of a Woman. I believe the current. If he came out now and started in a video game, he would be colloquially to be referred to as Whitey McWhiteson.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure.
Chris someone. Anyway,
Ah,
right. Sorry,
that's-
that's enough about that shit. Okay, so
But look, so anyway, so
they offered
basically,
this song to be used in the film.
yeah, because that was it. They were just like, let's get Bono to throw on a gold jacket and
yeah.
some devil horns, and that'll be fun.
This
Everyone went,
also,
fuck that. So, yeah.
I believe he said this also lost to fucking Colours of the Wind.
Oh, this was- yeah, exactly.
From Pocahontas.
This was also nominated. So the nominated songs were that Bryan Adams thing, which sucked.
yeah.
This, and then they all lost to Pocahontas.
This is
better than
definitely
the
better than
Pocahontas
those
song.
This is, I know, fucking kill me. I reckon this is catchy. Like,
Yep.
this was also a number one in Canada, Finland, Ireland, Norway, and New Zealand. So we can't take all the blame.
Look, this isn't terrible.
I secretly don't hate this. It's kind of sort of glam rock verve. It's kind of energetic, like a sort of T-Rex kind of vibe. You know, it's not boring, but it's. I think this kind of signifies one of those points where people stop taking U2 seriously outside of Stadium Rock. We keep saying that, though, so maybe they've done that many times.
This is look. I'm okay with this, and I don't mean I'm not giving that the 2 thumbs up. I'm just saying, if this is on in the IGA, I'm not running out of the store. I'm fine with this. It's okay. Look, it's not too bad. Look, I think, but interesting. It was nominated for the Golden Globe, lost to Colours of the Wind, Pocahontas, but it was also nominated for a Golden Raspberry Award
okay.
for worst original song, where it lost to "Walk Into the Wind" from Showgirls. Which
I
is
had to-
fucking awful.
I had to look. I mean, I've seen Showgirls plenty of
Jesus.
times, so I honestly couldn't remember the song. I had
It's
to
the
look it up.
rapist from Showgirls. That,
Oh, God.
You know that dude? Yeah.
But where does the song appear though in the film?
I don't even know.
I had to Google it. I mean, yeah, right. This song's definitely better than that. Walk Into the Wind.
So bad.
Walk Into the Wind is like the song that got cut from the Eric Clapton tribute roast for being too viciously accurate
Yeah.
of a roast. It's just appalling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, up against those three, I'd say this definitely wins.
Absolutely. But look, I think we've spoken about Showgirls before on this podcast, so I don't need to get into it
it's
too
great.
much. But I think that
I rewatched You Don't... not rewatched. I watched You Don't Know Me
yeah.
the other day. That was a good time too. Yeah, that was a fun little...
Definitely. It's look, I really feel for the lead actress in Showgirls.
Elizabeth Berkley, yeah.
Elizabeth Berkley, I mean...
No, I think she was done wrong by the critics.
By the critics.
And to the director to some extent, who hung her out to dry a little bit. He later came out and said, "Look, I told her to
overact
overact,
in all
and
sense,
what that stuff on the screen was deliberate." But, you know, yeah, he didn't do it at the time. At the time, he let the critics just hang her out to dry.
But it was a weird directional choice as well, because, you know, I can't
Yeah.
remember watching RoboCop and being like, oh, everyone was overacting the whole time, or, you know what I mean? Like, it was sort of, it wasn't like he'd pulled that before and just went, just be completely over the top.
To give him credit, because I do like Verhoeven, even
So
though
do
he's
I.
a fucking, you know, slightly concerning nutbag.
A lot of great films in that.
Yes,
in that,
yeah, he does have a
collection.
slightly weird attitude to female members of his cast, but sure, you know. Perhaps he did camp it up on purpose, thinking that, hey, this dialogue is, it's camp or it's overdone as hell.
Yep.
The story is overdone as hell, but it's set in Vegas, a town that is overdone as hell, and the whole point of it is about this kind of over intensified thing.
Yep.
And so that's what he was aiming for with the acting as well. It's just that not many of the other people in the cast are acting at that level. I think
Yep.
maybe her and Gina Cajon are up there, and then everyone else is sort of
Well, Kyle MacLachlan's
closer
not.
to.
It's just sort of-
No, he's weird, but
Yeah.
he's not like, and so they kind of stick out. And I think maybe he was just hoping that the audience would greet it with the same way that they do now, like that they might not ironically like it, but they might see that it was intentionally silly
Yeah.
in some ways, whereas at the time people didn't figure out that. But then again, I mean, there were critics who didn't work out that fucking Starship Troopers is supposed to be a satire at the time. Going
yeah,
like,
people
oh,
thought
this film seems to espouse fascism. It's like,
like,
yeah, that's what it's deliberately doing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people are idiots, but yeah. But
Anyway.
the thing that I enjoy about when you look at that whole body of work from, you know, the director is that, you know, I legitimately love RoboCop.
Oh, me too.
It's a great film.
Yeah,
Total Recall, great film.
yeah.
Showgirls, so dog shit that it's really enjoyable.
Yes,
So it's sort of
yeah.
gone the spectrum of like actual quite good films
Yeah.
and terrible films that are still ironically
The
enjoyable.
thing, the connecting thread between them is that they all have a weird sense of humour. They all have a kind of black sense of,
Of
humour.
course,
It's
yeah.
just that in Showgirls, the people in the film do not seem to be having any fun.
Yeah, exactly.
No one seems to be having a good time.
I did watch Jade, the Showgirls writer's film.
Oh, Joe Esterhaus.
Esterhaus's
Fuck,
film
he's a dodgy fucker.
immediately before Showgirls, and fuck, it was so bad. But,
I want to see the documentary about Joe Esterhaus staying at Mel Gibson's house for weeks while they try to put together a script about a Jewish folk heroes to try and re-establish Mel Gibson's career after he famously went on a fucking anti-Semitical rant in the back of a cop car and his whole
Was
public
that-
image imploded.
Was that filmed? Them hanging out?
No, but Joe Esterhaus wrote a sort of a thin book about doing it. But I would love to see that film. You know, but, you know.
Jeez, that's two people getting together for all the right reasons, I think, Tom. So,
Sure.
look, good stuff.
To get
Sorry.
back to the actual thing, this video, I just wanted to say one thing. The music video for this, as you'd expect from a 90s music video, You Two Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me, it's half of it is movie extracts, bits of movie clips, and the other half is sort of animated segments.
Yep.
And they were overseen by Sean Mayer and Manga Studios, while two artists from Leicester, Dave King and Dave Milgate, oversaw the design work based on a script. The animation team, consisting of 72 artists,
Wow.
only had an 11-day window to complete the clip using old-fashioned paint
Just-
on cell
okay.
animation. So yeah, after several sleepless nights, the clip was delivered at 6 a.m. on the day it was to debut on American TV. So
Wow, that's
so they
commitment.
must have edited it in like half a day.
That
and
is
then
commitment
tried
to getting that down
Yeah.
because, you know, and that's good because I think the video clip, yeah, it's enjoyable.
If anybody wonders why you don't see a lot of hand animated music videos anymore, it's because it takes 72 fucking people to make
Exactly.
about a minute and a half of it. But, yeah.
Look, don't hate this, Tom, but what I will say is, fortunately, this song wasn't forced onto my iPhone like that entire U2 album several years ago.
You've never
so that was
forgiven
good.
them for that.
I never have, you know, but that was punk as fuck, apparently, according to Bono, and that guy knows punk, so it's all good. Lyrical highlights for this?
They want you to be Jesus. They'll go down on one knee, but they'll want their money back if you're alive at 33.
Yeah, that's
Now,
true.
that's not terrible. That's not terrible. The band were around that age at the time, and it follows his Irish Catholic thematic staple
Yep.
of associating fame and drugs with religious imagery. But then, because he's fucking Bono, he has to push the metaphor over a cliff by adding, "And you're turning tricks with your crucifix, you're a star," which is nonsense. He just clearly liked the rhyme of turning tricks and crucifix,
Yep.
which is a recurring theme with Bono's lyrics. Like, he'll take you up to the edge of going, that's actually kind of clever, and then, nah, can't resist. Crucifix, tricks, they both sound like the same word.
All right, so up next is the magic of Jan Arden, Insensitive.
Do you reckon that's Yan or Jan?
Jan Arden.
I had completely forgotten this one.
Oh, fuck, so had I. Look, she's from Canada, so
1 week only.
one week, one hit wonder. Is this a power ballad? Because it kind of sounds like an off-brand Heart. All I want to do is make love to you. To me, I sort of get that
It
sort of
does.
that vibe. Look, apparently it was released as part. It was a single released from the soundtrack to the Christian Slater film Bed of Roses.
God.
Now, is that top tier or bottom tier Christian Slater?
I'd completely forgotten it even existed.
Bed of
so-
Roses, yeah, look, I think for me, not that anyone's asked, but top 5 Christian Slater for me, Pump Up the Volume, Gleaming the Cube,
Yep.
Heathers, Cuffs, True Romance.
Oh, yeah. I've got to say.
This doesn't make the top 5 for
No.
me.
Bottom tier would be Alone in the Dark.
Yep.
Although Tara Reid knocks it out of the park, playing the most convincing scientific specialist since Denise Richards showed off her nuclear physics qualifications in The World Is Not Enough. But yeah, no, I'd completely forgotten this one. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a one-hit wonder from Canada.
Yeah.
So was Anne Laurie, who wrote the song. Although she did have an album called The Mullet Years, which was
good.
also the name of my high school journal. Meanwhile, Jan Arden went on to be a successful Canadian musician, toured with Michael Bublé, and starred in a sitcom made about her life called Yan, which is currently the most popular TV comedy in Canada. You know, like it's like a massive sitcom over there, and it's been
Wow.
going for years. There's a whole bunch of obvious jokes that suggest
She plays
themselves,
herself?
but, yes, yeah, it's about her life, but you know, then again, I'm Australian, so I should probably keep my comments in my pocket. So yeah. Anyway, what have you got? You got any lyrical highlights? For
Oh,
this
I've got
bad boy?
no lyrical. I do. I've got heaps. Look, Tom. I think, like, you know, all good art, as we know, asks more questions than the answers it provides. And I think this song, the lyrics are just entirely questions. I don't know whether you're so Jan asks a lot of questions to the listener. Are you able to answer them? I don't know if you are. Tom, how do you cool your lips after a summer kiss? Is that a rhetorical question, or is it sort of like summer kiss, like like a Calippo or something like that? Bubble O Bill,
Ice Cold
Probably.
VB, perhaps.
probably. How do you numb your skin after the warmest touch?
Oh, dead arm, probably.
Probably, yep. Punch that dead arm. How do you slow your blood after the body rush?
Morphine,
More, yeah, absolutely.
directly injected into.
I
my
think
bloodstream.
it's certainly some sort of opioid. I think I completely agree on that. How do you free your soul after you've found a friend?
A complicated necromantic ordeal that involves, you know, ritual sacrifice, secret books, you know, gathering in the woods at midnight, that sort of thing. A lot of dancing around naked.
Yeah, so it's safe to say that freeing your soul after you've found a friend is slightly more complicated than cooling your lips after a summer kiss. One involves a trip to the 7-Eleven for a Calippo. The other one involves, you know, some sort of ritual necromancy, which is, you know, how do you teach your heart it's a crime to fall in love again?
Now, that is a shit line. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Look, it's
How
safe
do
to
you
say...
teach your heart that it's a crime to fall in love again?
Yep, absolutely.
Like, who is she? Is she talking to herself or to the other person?
Look, I don't know. Safe to say all of these lyrics are fucking abysmal, and I'm glad that she never recorded again. Now, at the 2006 Juno Awards, which are effectively the Canadian ARIAs,
Yep.
and the ARIAs are the Australian
Grammys.
Grammys.
Yep.
So Pamela Anderson she was on stage. She presented an award, and when Pamela Anderson was on stage, she talked about her campaign at the time was anti-seal hunting.
Oh, yep. She's
Remember, you
Peter.
may have remembered Pamela Anderson also at some time was pro Julian Assange. I think she was the one on the outside room trying to get him released.
That's right.
She was all pro Assange. So just stick to Baywatch. I think probably stay out of political matters, perhaps. But no, it's actually good on her for sort of getting involved in all kinds of stuff. So anti-seal hunting. So Ardern, she got up on stage and she joked. Wait for this. That her bra was made entirely from seal eyelids.
Perhaps if there was a
that
single line
funny?
in her
Is
song that was as entertaining as
I got my bras. Pamela's gone up and went, I hate, fucking seal hunting. She went, oh, my whole thing's made of seal eyelids. And everyone just went, whoa. Is it funny? Is it shit? I don't even know.
I'd have to
I don't
hear
even
it
know
at the time.
anymore.
And if you think I'm going to start looking up YouTube clips of the 2006 Canadian Grammys, you've got nothing.
Look, let's just say, Tom, I look up everything and I didn't bother doing that. I was just like, fuck that.
Also, can't help know, but that's 10 years after this song came out. So either she's up there getting a Lifetime Achievement Award for 1 week at the top of the Australian charts, or she kept recording in Canada and, I'm assuming
could have been something from the sitcom, who knows. But yeah, look, so she recorded the song as well, apart from Insensitive, called Run Like Mad, which was originally recorded to be the theme song for Dawson's Creek.
Oh, okay.
Yeah? But it was only used in the first season of International.
Okay. Yeah.
So not in the US, and the song was used again on the DVD set apparently. But I Don't Want to Wait. The song was just the theme song from Dawson's Creek. It got too expensive, so she asked for too much money, so they went back to this bullshit. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's like a sliding doors moment. I Don't Want to Wait, the theme song from Dawson's Creek, it's iconic. Everyone has it as their ringtone. I've got the lyrics tattooed on my arm. I think everyone loves the theme from Dawson's Creek. Just imagine for a second that if Jan Ardern's track made it as the theme of Dawson's Creek, she'd be Prime Minister of Canada by now, I think. That could have projected her into sort of
true.
into outer space, I think, Tom.
Although that said, Paula Cole could legitimately be the Prime Minister of Canada right now, and
That's true.
I wouldn't know.
No, you wouldn't know, exactly.
For all I know, she's less popular than Jan or Jan, who's got it's Jan, isn't it? Let's face it, she's Canadian. It's fucking Jan.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
it might be Jan.
I bet you Paula Cole does not have the biggest sitcom in America.
Oh, exactly. I mean,
also, personally, I always thought "Kiss Me" by Sixpence None the Richer was the better song of all three of these.
From the Dawson's Creek soundtrack,
I always thought "I Don't Want to Wait" was a dead giveaway for Dawson's Creek, because on the surface of it, if you just listen to it for 10 seconds, it sounds like "I don't want to wait for my life to be over because I'm young and being in love is the most important thing in the world."
Yep.
But when you actually listen to it, like when you actually start watching Dawson's Creek and paying attention to how the plots work and stuff and the way people talk to each other, it's actually about two middle-aged people talking to each other. It's one middle-aged person saying to another middle-aged person, "We're going to be dead soon. I don't have time for you to fuck around. You've got to tell me whether we're going to try this properly or not," which actually suits the exclusively middle-aged writing staff of Dawson's Creek, who put together the middle-aged seeming plot lines and the middle-aged sounding dialogue for all the characters.
Yep.
So, I think that was an accidental sort of reflection of the reality of the show, really.
Absolutely. I think.
Oh, and the fact that they all wear fucking casual knitwear all the fucking time.
Definitely. I remember when Dawson wanted an iMac and his dad was like, "Fuck that, bro. You want an IBM. It's got better processing power." Those are good times. But the reality is that, the thing about "I Don't Want to Wait" is that as an avid Dawson's Creek watcher in the early 2000s, because there was no internet back then and you couldn't stream TV shows, you just had to watch what was on screen. It was fucking awful. But what I do remember is that "I Don't Want to Wait," the theme song was like a minute, and you'd hear that hear that 1 minute, and then the show would come on. I was on a bus once and I heard the whole song and just went, "This is fucking awful."
Yeah.
Like, sort of, when it went for like 4 minutes, it was real shit, and then I realised that it's about old people. You're right. So that could have been Jan Ardern. It could have been me on the Metro bus in Hobart, listening to that, going, "Oh, this is a great theme song from that." Fantastic. But to show what a cultural touchstone. I had a CD from a early 2000s hardcore band, and they'd put Dawson's Creek samples on there, which is one of probably the shittest. I think that's the day hardcore died, I think, Tom. So the fact that I remember buying a
was
CD
that?
From Autumn to Ashes was the band called. That was probably a dead giveaway that was going to be terrible, but I remember
that showing
getting
up at a
CD.
few parties. That
Oh
CD.
yeah, they had some like the sort of like it was not it was terrible, I think, but I just remember getting that CD. I think they had one song I'd heard. I'm going to buy that CD. Got it, and then just putting it on, just going. They're using Dawson's Creek sample to sort of get across the sort of. We're going to write a song about heartbreak or about sort of lost love. Let's use a Dawson's Creek, and it's just like fucking hell.
I thought it was a joke though.
No, it was legit.
Oh,
I
shit.
think it was like serious. Like we're using a Dawson's Creek sample
Because
as
you
to
guys
sort of,
were into hardcore at the time,
Yep.
and Dawson's Creek, ironically. So when you had that CD, I assumed that this hardcore band were also using them ironically.
Fuck, I hope so. I
guess
just
not.
think they used it legitimately. And I
Oh,
was
man,
like, this
that's
is fucking
rough.
terrible. Yeah, it's really rough. I know.
That's the
so.
level of emotional embarrassment that you could only hear by
Exactly,
listening to
but
what metal sounds like now on the radio.
Yeah, I did crush that CD, and it has been used to build a road out of Launceston, so it's okay, definitely. So it's good. So that's anything else from Jan
There's no
Ardern?
lyrical highlights to that one.
No,
This
it's
is
terrible.
2 verses and 3 long choruses of "He's just not that into me,"
Mm.
which, if you think about it, is not what insensitive means. It's not tactless
No.
to be less attracted to someone than they are to you, or else I've been bumping into a whole lot of tactless ladies over the years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, is it sort of like a little bit of an Alanis Morissette ironic thing when
Yes.
no part of the song is ironic at all? It's just a completely fucking moronic take on what irony is, and this is the same
Yeah,
thing.
don't-
He's being insensitive
Don't
because
name your song a one-word adjective if you don't know what the fucking word means.
No,
would be
exactly.
my-
You look that up first.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Or just ask your friend, am I using this word?
Am I using this correctly? Exactly, for sure. So
Maybe
absolutely.
they did. Maybe they said it's shit house, and she said, "Well, you're just being insensitive."
I think-
No,
I think it's
no,
probably
I'm
right.
describing how bad the song is.
Exactly right.
You asked me. Anyway,
So, look, Jan, see you later. We'll never hear from you ever again
Bye.
in this podcast.
as opposed to never hearing things again, what's next? He segued excellently.
6 weeks of power from Seal, Kiss from a Rose.
Oh,
Now,
what a
how many
ripper.
fucking times do you think Heidi Klum had to hear this fucking song? Do you think?
Well, how long were they together? At
Oh,
least
geez,
once
I'm married
every
for-
Valentine's
That's what-
Day
that's
for
what
the
I'm
entire
thinking.
time they were together.
So Heidi Klum, who's a supermodel and, obviously very attractive, meets Seal, who, look, I'm not going to shit on Seal, but he's probably not the most attractive guy going. He's all right. I don't know. Is he a good-looking guy? He might be. I'm not really sure.
honestly couldn't tell you.
Look, he's probably fine. But look, the point is that they meet, they obviously chat, and they're like, oh, I'm Seal, and Heidi Klum, and he's like fucking stoked that
Yeah.
he's met a supermodel and they're hanging out. So
Sure.
I'm sure they go on a date, they're walking, he's
He's
from the
British
UK, he's
too,
British,
yeah.
so they're walking on the Thames, and it's probably all like maybe, light snow in January or something like that. And, he sort of starts just humming Kiss from a Rose, and she's like, and then it's sort of, she's so excited by that. And then, maybe on her birthday, just sort of, did you know the words? A Kiss from a Rose does that. And then maybe every Christmas, Mother's Day, anniversary,
Yep.
maybe just when she's come back from the grocery shop, and she's
Valentine's
probably
Day.
Valentine's. She's like, fucking Seal, I don't want to fucking hear Kiss from a Rose ever again. I imagine that's how it went down. He got Heidi Klum with Kiss from a Rose, and he pushed her away by too much Kiss from a Rose because 2004 she'd had enough, and they ended up getting divorced. And she's married to the guitarist from a German band called Tokyo Hotel, who I can tell you will not feature on this podcast.
Sure.
But back to the song itself. What do you think, Tom? Hit?
It's it's another odd song.
Yep.
Like, it's kind of a ballad, sort of. It takes the sort of shape of a ballad, although musically it's much more interesting it's much more swoopy and sort of operatic than Bryan Adams, for instance.
Yeah, well, that just sucks. I mean,
But
that
it-
song, but yeah. This
Yeah, it's hard to dislike. I'll say that. It's
Oh, for
hard
sure.
to hate it. And I think it's got a kind of weirdness that has kept it going.
Yeah,
Like people still kind of, people still sort of joke about it.
absolutely. So look, Seal. So he first got. He was on an Acid House single in 1991 called "Killer" by a group called Adamski.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yep.
I had
Can you remember that?
actually heard that. Yeah.
Yep.
Have you heard it?
I have. Yeah. So I remember
Sort
that.
of- It's a bit like All Right by East 17.
Yeah. So it
In
was,
that it's obviously it tends to be dance club song, except when you listen to it by today's standards, it's about 60 BPM.
Yeah,
It'd be
it
like
is.
trying to break dance to a metronome. sort
at the
of thing.
time, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, but yeah. So that was a number one single in the UK. It
shit.
only reached 112 in Australia.
I
so,
had heard it though,
yeah.
so it must
Yep.
have been on the radio occasionally.
Yeah, exactly.
like-
So he was there. He got his sort of break there, I guess. He did some
Yeah.
vocals on that. Then he ended up getting signed to a label, and then he followed that up with Crazy. You might remember that. We're never going to survive unless we get a little bit crazy.
Yep,
So
that
his
was
first
another
big song.
radio hit.
And that was produced by Trevor Horn of the Buggles, who
Yeah.
video killed the radio star. So that was that. So and I think they did and he did all the Frankie Goes to Hollywood shit as well. I think.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yep. So I did a lot of research. Couldn't find out where the name Seal came from because it's not his real name, Tom.
No,
it's not his actual real
strange.
name. It's Henry Samuel.
Oh, okay.
So, but yeah, so I tried to find out where his name Seal came from. Maybe like eating seal, maybe he was riding seals. I'm not sure. Just a big seal fan in general. Couldn't find that out. But yeah,
There was a rumour that he grew up in a war zone, and
Okay.
that's where his facial scars came from.
Yeah.
He has this kind of you'd know if you saw him, but
Yeah.
but he didn't. He grew up in London, and the scars are from lupus, which is one of a terrifying number of diseases where your own body decides it wants to attack you over a long period. But it didn't stop him selling millions of albums or marrying a supermodel.
Oh,
so
exactly.
maybe don't worry so much about that little mole on your cheek, you shallow asshole.
yeah, exactly right.
That's my advice.
I think that's probably, if there's one thing people take away from this podcast, is that don't let any sort of physical, scars or something that you might think is unattractive, someone else might find that attractive. So I think if you have a face-eating skin disease that makes you sort of look a bit weird, practice the guitar, write some songs, release a hit, and you can get married to a supermodel
That's
as
right.
well, I think, because
I mean, one of the reasons I got into podcasting in the first place was because of my leprosy.
exactly.
But fortunately,
Exactly
no
right.
one can see what the front of my head looks like since all of the major parts of it fell off. So,
They're all gone now. Exactly. So look, I think, and that's to the pod. That's podcasting is a great way to sort of
meet supermodels.
both have a
I've
creative
often said
outlet
that. It's-
when you've got no face. So yeah. But look, I think one of the mysterious. This is a very mysterious song apparently. So
Yeah, it's one of those lyrical ones that people.
so much
Argue about.
speculation
Yeah,
about
speculate,
what
sorry.
"Kiss from a Rose" means. I mean, a lot of people think it has something to do with maybe drugs. Rose, kiss from might be like heroin or something like that. An expression of love. Even people have talked about perhaps a journey to the afterlife.
Sure.
They don't really know. Seal has never explained what the song's about, but I think it's obvious. It's in the title, Tom. It's about just kissing a rose. You see a rose, you go up, you give it a kiss.
Sure.
That's what the song's about. It's about kissing a rose. And as we learned from Poison, every rose has its thorn. When kissing a rose, you just gotta cautious. Got to be careful because
Yes.
you give the rose a kiss, you might get spiked. But yeah, the song is very simple. It's just about spotting a flower on the street, giving a bit of a kiss. So I think that's what it's about.
Makes
As
sense.
far as I know, yeah, exactly. So I don't know why there's so much speculation about that. It's the name of the song, "Kiss from a Rose," give it a kiss. But I don't really understand it. So he said that this is interesting. This is not interesting to anyone but myself. Seal wrote this song in the late 80s when he was living in a squat in Kensal Green in London.
Sure.
I used to live in Kensal Green.
No shit.
Tom. In that squat. So when I found, I
Really?
didn't. No, not really. No, I lived in
Should've just
Kensal
said
Green.
yes,
If
like,
only,
no way
if
for me
only
to
I
check.
knew. If only I knew that, if I had have known at the time when I was living in Kensal, I would have tried to find the squat, sort of rummaged around in it, see if we could find the cassette tape. But yeah, so anyway, apparently, so Seal and me. So I co-wrote this song with Seal when I was living in Kensal Green. So I wrote this song. I wrote "Kiss from a Rose" when I was living in Kensal Green, and then it time travelled back to Seal, and basically he didn't know how to play any instruments, which is pretty interesting. So he just sort of hummed the instrumental parts into like a tape deck,
Yeah.
and then he did the lyrics, and then sort of forgot about it. And apparently, when he was recording his debut album before this, he just went, "Nah, this is bullshit. Don't want to know anything about it." Just didn't bother recording it. Then when it came time for the follow up, he pulled the tape out, gave it a bit of a listen, and went, "Sweet, let's record this." And you know what else, Tom?
What?
This song is so good, it ended up on the Batman Forever soundtrack.
Yep.
Just like the previous number one.
Yeah. Clearly, it was the biggest soundtrack of the year.
Fuck, it had to be. Yeah.
Both of these songs also don't involve really Batman thematically in any way,
No.
shape or form. They don't. They also sound completely and utterly different. But
Yeah. The
I do like that factoid though. That the thing with the 4-track, like
Yep.
him doing the voices, that explains, like when you listen to it, that explains why it has this big long intro and the hooky part where he's just sort of singing da 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 da, like he's just doing like vocal bits and this big long intro. Like, yeah, if it would be like, oh, how could I fill up, how can I mock this song up just by using my voice on a 4-track?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is really
That is
interesting, and I've certainly heard that before from bands that even I like, where where sort of the drummer will say, "I can't play guitar," so I'll sort of think of a melody or something, and I'll hum it, or like record me just doing this sort of do, and then I'll show it to the guitar player in the
okay.
band, and then they'll try and sort of take that and turn it into a guitar riff. So it's really interesting that just because you're not musical in the sense that you can't play an instrument doesn't mean you can't come up with a really cool melody or something. So Seal effectively wrote this song just by sort of, I guess, humming it or doing the parts, and then they put the music to it later. So
in a share house.
exactly. and I'm sure when he wrote it, he just went, "I really hope that one day this ends up on a Batman soundtrack." And it happened.
Not number one. Not
number one.
first Batman. Number 3.
Do you want it to be on Batman?
By the time
Probably
people
not.
are starting to get it.
I mean, if he wanted to be on the original Batman, he would have recorded it in '88, but he waited. He just went, "I want this to be on like the 3rd or 4th Batman film." So he waited until the time was right and just went, "What, they're making a 3rd one? Let's record this right now." So I got that on there. So it's good.
I think personally, a much better use of this song is in the Community episode "Studies in Modern Movement." Have you seen that one?
I haven't,
Where they
no.
move house. It plays, the full song plays over a very strange shopping mall blackmail karaoke paint huffing hallucination montage with 2 people karaokeing it in front of a very strange green screen thing. It's definitely worth checking out. I'll put the YouTube link on just for the song. Like the whole episode's quite funny, but in a weird way, I think it works much better than it does in the actual Batman. I can't even remember where it appears in the Batman.
In Batman,
soundtrack.
I probably didn't. It was just on
It's
the
probably
notes,
not.
yeah.
It was probably inspired by Batman Forever, which is
Absolutely. So Seal, he still has a rock solid 4.3 million
I believe
Spotify
it,
listeners. So yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a hit. I mean,
if you're in American tabloids, someone will keep listening to your stuff.
absolutely. What else? Anything else with this? Lyrics.
Well, as you said, they're odd. People sort of debate what they're about. One thing I found interesting is that I always thought it sounds like he's saying he's saying kissed by a rose on the grave, but he's actually saying grey, which is one of the things that makes it really weird. He says it a lot in the song. Grave makes sense because that's where you might find a rose, but it's not. He's saying, when you listen to it again, he is saying grey, saying kissed by a rose on a grey. So what grey means, I haven't got the faintest idea. And props to him for not telling people. Why? It's always better when when it's a mystery.
Oh shit! I've been singing "Kissed by a Rose on the Groin" for about 25 years. at karaoke, just at train stations,
Well, I
on the
mean,
street,
that makes,
at work.
that makes sense
So,
as well.
fucking hell. So HR, I'm surprised they haven't been involved. So.
He also says that love remains the high and not the pill, which would seem to suggest that it's not about drugs.
No.
Because, you know, the easy way out with all the, especially the 60s and 70s stuff, any song you don't know what the lyrics mean.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
just, it's drugs. They're talking
Yeah.
about drugs, but...
Look, I think at the end of the day, Seal, this, you got to look at this. A, it's on the Batman Forever soundtrack.
Sure.
2, it's a big hit, probably got him a lot of money. 3, it led to him being able to bang a supermodel. So I think on those 3 things alone, this is a massive success.
Oh, hey, look, he did well. He came a
5
long
years
way,
earlier, he
baby.
was living in a squat in Kensal Green.
He came
and then
a
he's
long way
gone from
from
that. So
Adamski. So,
absolutely. So
All right.
got him.
So, speaking of coming a long way, who's
Yep.
next?
Up next is Mariah Carey, Fantasy.
I can
Holy
hear
shit.
the extremely high vocal notes in my head already as you say that.
Look, this is the best song of the year for me, Tom, in terms of these number ones. I mean, holy shit. That chorus is just a sweet, sweet fantasy baby with Mariah hitting those high notes. If that doesn't
God.
get stuck in your head for 8 years, I'd say you're dead inside. It's just an absolute earworm. I'm just humming it. I'm humming it now. Humming it on the way here. I'll be singing it all day tomorrow. It's just fantastic.
Well, I mean, I think maybe it's my favourite Mariah Carey song, although I don't like Mariah Carey much, so that's not
Oh,
so
either
much,
do I.
but
I mean, I like this and the Christmas one, and that's about it.
It took 6 people to write this, including Mariah,
Yep.
2 members of Talking Heads, producer
Yes.
Dave Hall, Adrian Bellew, a session guitarist who toured and recorded with Zappa, Bowie, and King Crimson, and Stephen Stanley, who produced the Talking Heads, Ringo Starr, the B-52s, and the song Spasticus Autisticus for Ian Dury
Oh,
in
good.
the Blockheads. So yeah, it's got quite an unusual musical pedigree, but that the Talking Heads sort of
Yeah.
influence may explain why it's sort of. I find it a lot sort of more bouncy and catchy than a lot of her stuff, which I find can just descend into warbling.
What happened?
I
I
had
think
to.
I think the song actually samples a song called "Genius of Love" by the Tom Tom Club, and 2 members of and the 2 members
so
of
they
that.
get the credit, maybe.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So those 2 members
There
were
you go.
in Talking Heads. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think what happened was,
that seemed
but
like
you're
a
right
long
though.
bow to draw.
But no, you're right though. Like they didn't sit down and write the song with Mariah Carey, but they wrote the original song,
That
which
part
she
of it.
sampled.
Okay.
So yeah, so effectively,
I'll
yeah.
have to look up that original.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
like to hear the.
So-
what was it called?
It is called Genius of Love,
Genius
Tom
of
Tom Club.
Love,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, they did write the song, but yeah, the sample that was selected for that obviously makes it sound a bit different from some. Because
Sure.
Mariah, I think the thing for me is that she had a lot of pretty boring ballads, but then when she actually did an upbeat sort of song like
Yeah.
this, it was a lot better. It was a lot.
I mean,
sort of more of an
don't get me wrong,
interesting
her voice is fucking insane. Hearing
absolutely.
someone do pop music with a voice that is just ridiculously, unnecessarily over talented for what the material is,
Yes.
like a dodgy 3-minute pop song, is fun in itself. Like, it's fun to hear somebody just, you know,
She's got a pretty good range, no doubt about
just,
that. So.
just slightly.
Absolutely. And look, the video clip for this is probably the best thing going as well for the year. It's Mariah Carey rollerblading at a fairground in cut-off denim shorts. And it has to be peak 90s, really, doesn't it? I mean, those shorts are pretty short. She's on rollerblades,
Yeah.
just cruising around a fucking fairground. It's radical.
This was her 5th album.
Yep.
Even though she's still pretty young at this point. And this is when she started to transition from her sort of younger balladeer phase into more of a sort of hip-hop tinged pop diva. And and that really started happening with Dave Hall's production on this one and Honey, which was another big hit in Australia, certainly borrowing a lot of the sort of production sound and video look of the hip-hop of the time.
Yep.
Remember I was talking about, like, without a lot of, you know, knowledge to back it up, necessarily, but previously about the sort of family tree of like musical noises with dance samples back when talking about like the jump songs and stuff. At the start of the kind of hip hop era and the dance music era, there was just these sort of samples that just get reused over and over and over again.
Yeah.
There's a background musical whine thing in this song. which I will forever associate with like Cypress Hill, Tupac, and various other 90s hip hop.
Yeah.
It's that kind of sort of sound. It's
Yeah.
hard to explain, but it was in all this 90s hip hop stuff. That was created by Quincy Jones in the Ironside theme, the TV show themes, and it's sometimes nowadays called the Kill Bill siren because they use it in Kill Bill, that sort of and it's all just, I think it's originally a Mini Moog sampler, and it's been sampled, reused, tweaked, and copied in shitloads of hip hop from like 808 Mafia to Tupac to Sean Paul, and then a whole new generation found it. And now it's all over trap music, like, you know, millennial stuff from like Narc Party to Future to The Weeknd. And it is kind of strange to hear it in Mariah Carey in 95, but it's all just this kind of thing. It's either that sample stretched or expanded, or somebody making that sound.
So it's like a ubiquitous sort of hip-hop-ish rap pop sort of sample, and then it's sort of unusual to hear it in
this is when hip-hop was starting to influence pop a lot more.
Yeah.
Like, she sort of took that stuff on board, and, you know, and that gave her a kind of slightly sexier, poppier edge than just standing around in a ball gown singing like Celine Dion, you know, kind of thing.
Well, interestingly, when you talk about the hip-hop connection, the remix of this featured Old Dirty Bastard from the Wu-Tang Clan. And there's a music video of the remix version, which he's in. And the funny thing about it is that apparently he showed up on set and was just fucking drunk and showed up and just went, I don't have any clothes for the video. And it's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I don't have clothes for the video. So they were, oh shit. So the production person had to drive him into like the mall or something and said, okay, what he's like, oh, want some like the Timberland boots and some jeans or whatever. But then he sort of ran off and then like got all these like Gucci and Louis Vuitton bags. Apparently, he was just like, oh yeah, we're gonna buy these. So he ended up just coming back with like all these bags that he'd bought and just all these clothes. And then apparently he just sort of showed up on set, just fucked off his head, and just was like sleeping in a corner. They'd get him up and he'd do the stuff. But then also when they were in the studio doing the remix, apparently he'd showed up, just fucked off his head, and just came up and would like. He'd go into the vocal booth and he'd rap one line, and then he'd just go and sleep on a couch, and then he'd like someone like an hour later would wake up and he'd be like, what? And then he'd just be like, oh yeah, and then he'd do one more line, then go back to sleep for another hour. So they're like so his verse where he raps like 8 lines are like, it took like 2 days, and he's just like, you have to edit this together because I'm not redoing it. So fantastic. So that was good. R.I.P. Old Dirty Bastard. Good on that guy. Scammed some free clothes out of Mariah Carey and took about 8 years to do a 3-line verse. So that was good. And look, anything that's Wu-Tang affiliated, I love it because for me, I just like any hip-hop group that uses a song to sell their own clothing merch, like their own merch line, you know? So it's just like, what are you going to do? Let's do a song about Wu-Tang wear. So it's good. So it was all right. So that's the hip-hop connection for that as well.
Sure.
But Tom, we've talked about how other songs this year, particularly Bryan Adams, and obviously Seal and a few others for the Batman soundtrack. This also featured on the soundtrack. Did you know that?
No.
It also featured on the soundtrack, although not until 2008, where it was in Don't Mess with the Zohan. So the Adam Sandler film where I believe he plays a hairdresser. Have you seen that one, Tom?
I still haven't seen it, but I've heard it's one of his better later period films. So maybe I should check it out at some point.
The bar is so fucking low that one of his better, later period films is probably still total dog shit. I reckon the last film of his I saw was Jack and Jill. Did you watch that one?
No.
Probably one of the worst films I've seen in 1,000 years.
So amazingly, the preview was so amazingly bad that
I just can't believe they got Al Pacino to come in and do that. But look, fucking power to the dude that's just sort of like, they'll let him do anything now, which is great. So so I was in Don't Mess with the Zohan. Not sure in what context, but all good. Look, Mariah, she's had 19 US number ones.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
She remains the first and only artist in history to have their first 5 singles hit number 1 in America.
First 5, wow,
yep.
That's great.
First 5 singles hit number 1 in America. Like, no one else has done that. Not even Michael.
Wow.
Fucking, yeah.
Absolutely. Look, and also interestingly, I think this is something that is a really new phenomenon, and that is that because of Spotify, where the charts are decided on streams
Yeah.
rather than sort of actual physical purchases of stuff, every December, Mariah, people will stream All I Want for Christmas
Yeah.
Is You. So All I Want for Christmas Is You was a number one hit in Australia, I think last year, 2020.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
already.
like 20, almost close to 30 years after it came out. And I have a feeling that every year from now until a meteor crashes into Earth or something, I reckon that song will be number one every year forever, because December comes along, people will stream it, it'll get enough streams to go to number one. So yeah.
Crazy. Like, and people look at someone like Mariah and go, oh, she's so weirdly detached from reality, you know?
Yep.
She just, and you're like, well, maybe because she was just, the minute she started doing her
Anything.
thing, people just went, holy fucking shit, you are unbelievably talented.
Yeah,
Quick,
exactly.
come away from your normal existence.
Yep.
You don't live there anymore now. You come with us.
Come with
We're
us.
taking you away. That's from the age of, 18 till now. That's
Oh,
the
exactly.
existence she's lived.
It's been 30
No.
years, 30 plus years of that. So look,
It's fucking bananas. Like, even like sportsmen are like that sometimes. Like, but even then, they don't last for 30 years. It
you
doesn't
get 10
keep
years
going
of
for that
sport
long.
if you-
Yeah.
exactly. So look, I think what we're saying is that any budding artists out there, you should try and write a good Christmas song, because at the moment, Mariah Carey's 1991 song, All I Want for Christmas Is You, is the most current
Yep.
Christmas song that people like. So,
nuts,
and that's
mate.
30 years ago.
We were saying
So-
that with fucking with George Michael. Every Christmas he gets
Oh,
a bump from
exactly,
fucking
exactly.
you know.
For sure. So we're
Last
talking about
Christmas I
songs.
gave you my
So,
heart.
you know, no one's written a good Christmas song for 30, 35 years.
No.
So if you're out
Well,
there...
I mean, I'm not sure I would say any of these are good Christmas songs.
Well,
Christmas song that gets
they're all-
replayed more than once.
I think what by good Christmas song I mean that I need to put together a Christmas playlist
Yeah.
for Christmas Day for my family Christmas event, and I want songs that don't make me want to throw myself into a volcano.
Yes.
So, and I think that's one of them. But
Ross has
I-
got a really good
I actually put together the worst Christmas playlist of all time about 2 years ago. It is so fucking bad. I should share it with you. I gotta find it. It's about 15 songs of just some of the. There's a lot of Eurodance covers of classic Christmas songs, and they're fucked. But yeah, it's
Get Ross to send you his Christmas playlist as well. He's
Okay.
got a really good one.
all right. I'll do
This
that.
one, I can never remember it. It's a rap battle between Jesus and Santa,
Yeah,
and Jesus is Snoop Dogg.
yeah.
I can't remember who Santa is, but it's this sort of throwdown. It's great. It's
It
tremendous.
sounds way better than anything I've got, that's for sure. Speaking of way better than anything I've got, or did I say way worse? The next song, 14th of October for 1 week, Entrance, Staying Alive.
Jesus Christ.
Now, holy fuck, we've talked about Eurodance on this podcast today. We got to step back to the very first song where I talked about how, you know, a lot of great Eurobeat songs coming out, and then we went into Here's Johnny, which is sort of like an actual Gabba proper song. This is the most watered down piece of shit.
This doesn't qualify for
Eurodance.
Eurodance. It's a terrible.
think so?
No,
Okay.
it's a terrible remix of an old.
It's
Song.
a Bee Gees remix.
Yeah,
effectively
this
saying.
doesn't even qualify.
No, look, it sucks total piss. Although the rapper on this track, Ricardo De Force, one
His
of my
real name.
favorite. It was fucking. That's probably one of the best rap names ever, isn't it? What's his name? Ricardo De Force. That's sick. He was the rapper on all the KLF's big hits. So, you know, the Stadium House trilogy, 3am Eternal, Last Train to Trans Central,
Sure.
Justified and Ancient.
Good
I
songs
think
that
he
he
was on.
didn't write.
Yeah, but he rapped on not Justified and Ancient, I think, but at
okay.
least two of those three. But yeah, so he rapped on those songs as well as the other Entrance Human Rights Violation. Do You Think I'm Sexy? So Ricardo De Force I'm going to give him thumbs up for KLF, who are some of my favourite of that era,
but he
and
didn't
then
write
2
it.
thumbs down
Yeah.
for his N-Trance involvement, because this is fucking dog shit.
In the subsequent decade, N-Trance had 14 mentions on the UK charts.
Yep.
At first, I thought that was a misprint, and instead of UK charts, I'd read Sex Offenders Registry. But then I saw a Telltale Surname bin.
Yep.
Yes, that's right. These two fucking knobs were signed straight after college to Pete fucking Waterman's PWL
Oh,
label,
Jesus.
home of Cock Aching Watering Can. If there's ever a musical Hague, those pricks will be in the dock between Andrew Lloyd Webber and Krista Berg. I fucking... Oh, man.
Yep.
They're like the red string of the conspiracy of these fucking podcasts of shit music. It all leads back to Stock Aching Waterman.
Oh, it sucks. I mean, I said that I have an affinity for sort of B and C tier Eurodance.
Oh yeah,
This
no,
is like-
that's what
this
I
is-
mean.
This is like
I,
F tier.
I wouldn't
or something.
insult Eurodance by associating that with this. Like,
Yep.
yeah,
Oh yeah, it's pretty bad. Look, I don't know. The Italian dance group Eiffel 65, who I love from Blue. Double D Double Double, and I think we might get to talk about them in a few weeks' time. But they use the chorus from this in their song "I Want to Dance All Night." Apparently, so Eiffel 65 sampled this bullshit. So that's another thumb down for those guys.
Yeah.
But so the original was one of the 5 songs the Bee Gees wrote for Saturday Night Fever. I assume the other 4 were also total garbage. I don't know.
I will stand up for the Bee Gees, even though they are dorky as hell.
Yep.
I will not stand up for N-Trance unless I saw them in the street and it was so I could more effectively throw dog shit at them.
Yeah. Now, it's fair enough. I mean, this is awful. Did you know Saturday Night Fever, getting back to the Bee Gees, that this was the best selling soundtrack, of all time until it was outsold by The Bodyguard.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where it's a movie soundtrack, one of the rare ones where the movie soundtrack is probably better remembered
Yep.
by more people than the actual film. The actual film's actually quite a depressing... We've already talked about this sort of depressing working class thing that features occasional bright spots of dancing, but the soundtrack is this unforgettable. It's like the best thing disco managed to produce.
Yeah, exactly. But what I find surprising about the fact that this was overtaken by The Bodyguard was that, as you mentioned, this is sort of like a very the disco era. People remember the disco because of this. I think this is this is sort of the legacy
It's
of
the first
disco.
thing that pops into people's heads.
Absolutely, is disco Saturday Night Fever.
John Travolta in flares and...
But Bodyguard, do people still talk about the body? I mean,
Just
it's
the
had
one song.
that Whitney Houston
That
song. I
one
Will Always
song,
Love You,
yeah. But if you asked me to name another song off that soundtrack, I would...
Yeah, exactly.
like-
And look, it wasn't too long. 83, the Bee Gees recorded songs for the sequel Saturday Night Fever, called "Staying Alive," directed by Sylvester Stallone. What else has he directed? Probably a lot of those later Rambo films.
God
So.
almighty. He didn't direct Rocky, did he? No, he starred in Rocky. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't think directing was his true skill.
So Staying Alive. But the thing is,
I've
though,
never seen Staying Alive.
the momentum of Saturday Night Fever was such that it was critically panned as being complete garb, but it grossed $64 million on a budget of $8 million.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it was a critical. Everyone just went, "I love that first one. Let's go watch this." And then everyone went, "Fuck."
From bad movie podcasts, I know that the sequel to Saturday Night Fever picks up from the ending of the previous one, where he rather implausibly ends up being a professional dancer in a Broadway show.
Oh yeah.
The Broadway, where people just run around oiled up in loincloths and stuff. So it loses all of the sort of working class stuff of the first one. And I know that the name of the production that they're all involved in is called Satan's Alley.
Okay.
Just sounds like, call me dirty-minded, but just sounds like a euphemism for your poop shoot, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, absolutely.
It sounds like something out of Showgirls. So I find myself
sure.
thinking, should I watch Staying Alive? Is it possible that it's an sort of undiscovered, Showgirls level masterpiece?
Absolutely. Look, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I need to watch that again, to be honest.
Is it the next Vibrations, Ben? That's what I'm...
Well, yeah, I don't know. Tom and I watched Vibrations recently, one of the best films ever made. So we'll talk. That's a separate podcast.
Sure.
That's when they talk about what is it? It's Hollywood's attempt to make a film about what underground dance, like a techno thing, but they were about 8 years too late as well.
Again.
So, but DJ Cyberstorm is still my favourite DJ, so he's pretty good.
DJ Cyberstorm.
Look, interesting though, Tom. Although this Entrance song does suck shit, what I would advise to people is that a team from the University of Illinois Medical School suggested that Staying Alive, the original one, not this bullshit, is the ideal song to listen to on an iPod while performing chest compression to someone who's just suffered a heart attack.
Yeah, there was a British TV awareness campaign that used it too.
Yeah, so effectively, someone's had a heart attack, you got to do something, throw on Staying Alive on the Spotify, and then you do the heartbeats to the same tempo as the song. So look, that's good to know. Don't put on the Entrance one because I think there'll be if this is 180 BPMs, you will kill somebody. And I wouldn't be surprised if several people have died as a result of the sort of Entrance.
Well, I nearly died just from listening to the radio edit. So
it's
through my
ears.
ears.
Yep, exactly. So, are there any lyrical highlights to this whatsoever?
Well, like the movie it came from, the lyrics seem like a frivolous affair, but the material itself is actually sort of a reasonably gritty evocation of struggling to keep your head up in the crime-ridden urban environment of 70s New York.
Yeah.
He claims that he's been kicked around since he was born. There's also a lyric I could never decipher, which is, it's all right, it's okay, I'll live to see another day. We can try to understand the New York Times effect on man.
Okay.
Now, what does that mean?
The New York Times effect on man.
As in the newspaper.
I assume so. I don't know, and I'm not even willing to take a stab at
I'm
that.
sure
so
Entrance don't know.
Entrance don't know, probably not.
All right, let's move on.
700,000 monthly listeners on Spotify for Entrance. That's a lot.
That's
They look. If you're listening to Entrance, go listen to other Eurodance. There's way better shit out there. So
there's better capital letters.
So that's 1 week,
With hyphens after.
and then look. Although we're only in October, Tom, 21st of October, this song takes up the rest of the year.
Wow.
So it's a solid 13 weeks.
Jesus. I forgot how big this was.
Coolio featuring LV, Gangsters Paradise.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to like? I forgot it featured LV. What was the LV story?
Oh, we'll get to the LV story, I think, Tom. But at the moment, I think you're right. When people say who's saying Gangsters Paradise, everyone says Coolio. Mm-hmm. It's like featuring LV. It's like what?
Totally
Who are you talking about? So, look, this is a reworking of the Stevie Wonder song from 1976, Pastime Paradise. So it wasn't Coolio's idea to use the Wonder song, but it was LV. So that's where he comes into this. So LV, so which apparently stands for Large Variety, not his real name. But he sort of heard that and said, that's a good sample to use, or let's use that sample. So started working on it, and then I think he produced the track. LV basically produced the music, sent it to Coolio as a demo, and then Coolio got to work and recorded the song for the 1995 film Dangerous Minds.
Another fucking movie song. That's
another film.
Fourth one from this year. Yeah,
exactly.
That's another one. That's a Michelle Pfeiffer movie people kind of forgot about.
Exactly.
That was another one of those, or if you're younger anyway, it was another one of those films about a teacher who comes to teach a bunch of trouble students, low socioeconomic group, which would probably be troubling nowadays, seeing as that she's a white, attractive lady and they're all black. But at the time, we thought that was progressive. It's all good. So, yeah, I think it was the third film with that plot to come out that year.
I think so, exactly.
Yeah.
For sure. So is it? It wasn't quite Dead Poets Society, but it was definitely sort of not a fish out of water, but sort of the unusual teacher. She came in, and she taught the kids. I think she taught them how to love again, Tom. So I think
it was a real Finding Forrester situation.
It was absolutely so. So this song was on Dangerous Minds, and was the film enough of a success to project this into the hit that it was, or was it just a song that everyone just loved?
Oh, I think it's the song. It's the other way around. It's like the Staying Alive thing. I think this is people have remembered this song long after they've forgotten the fucking movie.
Oh, absolutely. So apparently Stevie Wonder, he refused to approve the sample for Gangsta's Paradise because there was some profanities.
Oh, okay.
So Coolio rewrote the lyrics, and then Wonder went, "Yep, that's great." And then it won the Grammy in 1995 for Best Rap Solo Performance.
Well, normally in this instance, I would say that Stevie Wonder is a precious little bitch, but in this instance, I'm saying that he's being generous because in the infamous hip hop tradition, this is less of a sample than it is a cover version with just different words. Like they basically nicked about 4/5 of the song. Like really, like as the title "Pastime Paradise" suggests, it even just sort of it rhythmically rhymes with
Oh, absolutely.
It should be Coolio. It should be Stevie Wonder featuring Coolio, not Coolio featuring LV. But
Well, I think that's sort of what they would do these days. If you had such a blanket rip off of a sample, you would do that. And I think it's sort of interesting because people have. So we've talked about this probably before. How Vanilla Ice copped a lot of shit for just taking that bass line from Under Pressure.
It's not so much that it wasn't that he took it; it's that he pretended that he didn't take it. That he went, no, we didn't pinch it.
But I think it's sort of like people sort of. I guess it's sort of Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique era, where the Dust Brothers were taking that album is predominantly if not entirely samples made,
Public
but they're
Enemy
taking
used
heaps
fuckloads
of different samples.
too,
And blending them together where you don't just listen to it and go, oh, that's from this. It's sort of.
But this is more like the entire song.
It's just
like,
that. Yeah.
It's like this is. We'll just take the instrumental version of the song and then I'm going to rap over it. Which again, that still gets done. Kanye West did that plenty of times.
Of course. But I think sort of people have a bit more respect when people do that, take a lot of different samples, whether it's that or DJ Shadow or the Avalanches, and take all these crazy samples and just go, oh, it's a new thing, whereas this is just, you're right, this is just effectively rapping over an old song. Vanilla Ice was rapping over an old song.
Remember when fucking everyone was looking forward to the next Nicki Minaj song, and I, being an old white person, I hadn't heard of her that much, and I was like, oh, this seems interesting. What's like the last song? And I was like, oh, okay, I wonder what this is going to be. And then it had this kind of build up to the release, and then it came out, and I was like, it's just Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Exactly.
They've kind of, they've sort of, it's just somebody's record scratched it up a bit, and then there's arses.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of arse. Total bullshit.
Again, this is not a collage of different things mixed together. It's just a cover that you've. Anyway. Who cares?
Exactly.
It's fine.
So look, this was for 22 years. This song held the record for the longest running number one in Australia.
Fuck.
So
13 weeks.
Yep, for 13 weeks, and then effectively it was finally beaten by Ed Sheeran.
Ugh.
Shape of You,
Ugh.
which spent 15 weeks atop of the chart. So,
just hearing
but apparently, Shape of You, this interesting.
Is Coolio too old to do a drive-by?
I think he is, probably. But Shape of You, Ed Sheeran had to pay out some parts of royalties to various people that claim that TLC actually. He actually wrote, I think TLC, part of this song was a rip-off of one of their songs, so we had to pay them out some
royalties. Are you in
royalties.
love with the shape of Ed Sheeran, Ben?
I am, but it
back
changes.
in the day, people would sometimes look at prodigiously talented musicians like Robert Johnson or Jimmy Page and like suggest that their talent was a result of having sold their soul to the devil.
Yep.
Obviously, that's bullshit. But on the other hand, if you were looking at a police lineup for a person who sold their soul to Satan in exchange for popularity, you'd go straight for someone like Ed Sheeran, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
out of the lineup, a gimpy ranger with a neck beard who dresses like Pacey from Dawson's Creek and somehow gets away with playing hip hop on an acoustic guitar on his own at the front of the stage, wearing his fucking DC skate shoes in front of a bunch of 14-year-old girls.
Correct. Yeah.
What I'm saying is that Ben is Ed Sheeran is less in love with the Shape of You than he is in touch with Lucifer's balls.
Look, I'd suggest it's a correct take, Tom, because He's not attractive. His song's terrible. Everything about it just sort of goes, why is this dude selling 20 million albums? I've got no idea. So, look, it totally sucks. But look, Coolio, he doesn't have to worry about that because he fucking hammered this out of the park. 13 weeks of this. And also, he featured on a Eurodance version in 2001. And we all knew that Eurodance was still going strong there. Yep. So, Gangsta's Paradise 2K11 versus Kylie and Mash. So I don't know. But yeah, so he did that. So this is good. And people might be saying, what's Coolio been up to since Gangsta's Paradise? He does a lot of collaborations with some of the finest artists that we know. WC and the Mad Circle, Dazzy D, The Chill, H-Bomb, Raz Kaz, 40 Thieves, Peter Andre, Shorty, Outlaws, Rappin' Fateh, Lecky, ZSS, and The Glam. So he's still doing it with the very finest in music.
Oh, sorry, I got distracted. I thought you were reading out the lineup for day one of the next Gathering of the Juggalos.
Yes, no. That is
including Coolio. I think he's headlining
I hope so.
at
Yeah,
midnight.
Look,
In fact, I actually genuinely do think he's played at the
is he?
Gathering of Juggalos.
Yeah, I hope so. Tell you what, those Insane Clown Posse, they know the finest artists that are into them.
You know, I'm a big WC in the Mad Circle guru as well.
Oh, good.
He had a few hits after this on the radio. Nothing on that
No.
area. But he had one about fucking goddamn. I can remember the video. It was them going to the beach in a low rider that was bounced. It was much more cheerful.
Yep.
Than
Yeah, look, no, he did have other songs, I think. It's just sort of, he'll always be known for this.
Oh,
probably,
100%, yeah. Look, lyrics, you know, I think a lot of people know lyrics. Coolio asked at one point, you know, it's a troubling story about growing up in the hood. At one point he says, I'm 23 now, will I live to see 24? Not only did he live to see 24, he lived to see 58. Keep releasing albums into the present, appear in Celebrity Wife Swap, Fear Factor, Batman and Robin, Leprechaun in the Hood, and my personal favourite, Shriek If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th, alongside Tom Arnold and Tiffany Amber Thiessen from Saved by the Bell. So, you know, fortunately he got out of the hood so he could appear in Leprechaun in the Hood.
Look,
you know, he escaped that Leprechaun only to come face to face with him again.
I actually forgot. I've seen Leprechaun in the Hood, and I forgot that he was in Leprechaun in the Hood, which is one of probably the best in the Leprechaun series, I think, Tom. But yeah,
it's no Shriek If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th.
I can't imagine it would be. So Coolio has 8 million monthly listeners on Spotify, so which is pretty good.
Doing okay.
So, which is all right. So good on him. Look. Yeah, that's it. That's it for this year.
That's it
Coolio
for the
took up the
year.
last, 2 months of this. That's all right.
It was a strange layout that year. There were a couple of few giant ones and then a lot of little 1 week dots in between.
Absolutely so. But let's not forget the songs that didn't quite get there. Pure Massacre by Silverchair, number 2.
Silverchair, that was the
Here
follow-up.
Comes the Hot Stepper.
Oh, yeah. Catchy.
Lyrical Gangster, Turn It Up. Total Eclipse of the Heart by Nikki French. Everyone loves the Eurobeats cover of Total Eclipse
It really
of the Heart.
was the year of Eurobeat, wasn't it? Fucking
Scream by Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson, which was a song I think released purely so Michael could try and prove that he wasn't the same person as Janet Jackson.
Yes,
but I
that's
think
your
there's some
previous theory.
creative editing probably, that could have gone with that. Alice, who the fuck is Alice? Remember that?
Yep, which is, of course, a cover of, Alice.
Yeah,
by-
exactly.
What's their fucking name? Smokey.
Yeah, Alice. Alice, who the fuck is Alice? Terrible.
I prefer Living Next Door to Alan by Rodney
Absolutely.
myself.
Where the Wild Roses Grow by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds and Kylie. And then Stay Another Day, E17, Strong Enough by Sheryl Crow. But a lot of other big hits that didn't, reach the top 10 but didn't go much further. So Waterfall, TLC.
Oh, yeah.
Don't go chasing waterfalls, Tom. Stick to the rivers and the lakes that you used to. Short Dick Man by 20 Fingers. I love that one. Song about a dude with a small dick. I love it. It's good. Under the Water by Meryl Bainbridge. That's a follow-up song, I think. So Don't Stop Wiggle Wiggle by the Out There Brothers. One of my personal favourites. Don't stop moving, baby. Wiggle wiggle.
That still gets played occasionally.
Oh, yeah.
It's too catchy.
Self-Esteem by The Offspring.
Oh, yeah.
So
Still
we've
hear
got
that
some
sometimes.
a few
When I Come Around by Green Day. That gets
absolutely.
played occasionally.
for sure. Absolutely.
You Are Not Alone by Michael Jackson, which is fucking terrible.
Cotton Eye Joe
Cotton Eye Joe.
by the Rednecks, which is one of my favourite songs of the era. But also, Tom, a few of my favourites that made the top 40 but didn't make the sort of top 10
Sure.
in Eurobeat territory. DJ Bobo, Let the Dream Come True, one of my favourites.
Don't remember.
Tokyo Ghetto Pussy, Everybody on the Floor.
How could I
Pump
forget
It.
that name?
JX, You Belong to Me.
Oh, yeah.
There was also Excalibur. Can you remember that? The song that used O Fortuna.
Yeah, it was like a techno remix.
It had like break beats and
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, so that was popular this year. Corona, Try Me Out. Do you reckon Corona has a hard time getting a gig these days? Remember, hey, I'm Corona. Remember that Eurobeat song, Try Me Out? It's just like, no, bro, we don't. No one wants to remember anything. No one wants anything to do
Sorry,
with
we
that
don't
stuff.
take Eurodance below E tier in this.
Yep. Alex Party, Wrap Me Up. Tom, are you a party DJ? Is your first name Alex? What do you reckon your DJ name should be? I don't know. Alex Party. Run with that. And of course, Scatman John featured this year, so that's all right. But my favourite non-Eurobeat song of the year, Tom, is definitely the Vaughns Who Farted.
God.
Probably
I
the
thought
less
no
said
one-
about that, the better. So.
I don't want to dig up my musical past. What can I
Absolutely.
say? It was a question that was on people's lips a lot those days,
For sure.
along with Who the Fuck is Alice? The
Absolutely.
fact that either of those songs got onto the charts in Australia does not say good things about Australia, but hey, at least we didn't have 14 entrance songs on our chart.
No, exactly. So that's 1995. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week with 1996, the year of the Atlanta Olympics.
Wow. See you later.
So, yeah.